All right, Aaron Antis on today's edition of the Thrive Time Show. We have an action-packed agenda here. On part one of the show, we're going to share the history and the story of the founding of the Elephant in the Room Men's Grooming Lounge.
That's great.
And then on part two of today's show, we are going to be interviewing a man by the name of Cameron. Cameron is a TED Talk speaker. Cameron is a very successful best-selling author. Cameron Herold is going to teach us what he knows about Elon Musk and his brother. He actually knows them personally. He's going to share about why Elon Musk and his brother have been so successful. He's going to share with us how to increase employee engagement. And then we're going to be joined by Tyler Hallblade of Primo Trailer to share about his epic 400% growth. And then on part four of today's edition of the Thrive Time Show, we're going to be joined by Dr. Mark Sherwood. And Dr. Mark Sherwood is going to share with us 5 practical tips that we can all implement to get into the best shape of our lives during the next 120 days. All this and more on today's edition of the Thrive Time Show on your radio and podcast download.
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrive Time Show.
Now, 3, 2, 1, here we go!
Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here.
Yes, 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 and yes! Thrive Nation, we are in the air everywhere, and welcome back to another exciting edition of the Thrive Time Show on your radio and podcast download. All right, Aaron Antis, you do run Oklahoma's largest home building company, ShawHomes.com, with the help of your brother, Glenn Shaw, Chuck Ramsey, a lot of great and talented people.
Yeah.
You're also a guy who I'm good friends with, and I thought it would be a great show because we're going to send today's show to all of the Elephant in the Room customers.
Oh, cool.
And we have so many wonderful customers, and I wanted to hop on today's show and really, one, thank the Elephant in the Room customers for being loyal, devoted customers, but to walk them through kind of the Elephant in the Room founding story of how it all happened.
Nice.
And that way people can kind of know the history of the business and what we're all about. Does that sound fair to you?
I love it. That sounds great.
All right, so here we go. Now, it was probably, and again, I don't want to get the specific date wrong, but we're going about 9 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea to start a men's grooming lounge was thrown out by one of the founding partners. And it was like, hey, we want to make a business that can provide the best haircut experience possible for the men of Tulsa.
Mm-hmm.
The best haircut experience possible. Now, I'm going to walk the listeners through how we went from taking that idea and we turned that idea into the business that is now called the Elephant in the Room.
Mm-hmm.
So step one, and again, hopefully this is a very powerful training for somebody out there or teaching tool for somebody who wants to start their own company. The first thing you have to do when you start a business is you got to figure out who are your ideal and likely buyers. You've got to define your ideal and likely buyers. In fact, Chet Holmes, the best-selling author of The Ultimate Sales Machine, a guy who was a former business partner of Charlie Munger who works with Warren Buffett, Chet Holmes, it's a red-covered book, The Ultimate Sales Machine. He wrote, best buyers buy more, they buy faster, and buy more often than other buyers. These are your ideal clients. Well, we determined at Elephant in the Room that our ideal and likely buyers were guys that wanted to have an appointment that they could count on. So as a business guy, when you run Shaw Homes, why do you not want to go to a dentist or to some other vendor that's going to constantly reschedule on you?
Because my time is valuable. I don't want to waste it on anything. And if I show up for an appointment, I don't want to wait.
So, again, I want to make sure listeners get this idea. James, when we started Elephant in the Room, we started it downtown. It's at 16th in Boston. We had enough room for, I believe, 5 chairs at the time. And we started off, our initial marketing was emailing and Facebook marketing, personal Facebook messages to everybody that I've ever known. And one guy, if you're out there, Chad was pissed. Chad's like, I haven't talked to you since college, and you're offering me to cut my hair?
Did you have the $1 haircut at the time?
Yes, we did, yes.
Oh, he wasn't happy about that?
No, because there's some people that just don't like being marketed to.
Oh.
They just don't like the idea. Yeah. But we reached out to all of my friends And we said, hey, we would encourage you, all my Facebook friends, to come out to the Elephant in the Room Men's Grooming Lounge to get your hair cut. Now, when you hear the phrase Men's Grooming Lounge, does that carry any meaning to you at all if you didn't know me, James?
Yeah.
If you heard the phrase Men's Grooming Lounge, would that mean something to you?
I would have an impression of what it was in my
Would
head.
that mean something to you, Aaron?
Yeah, I would picture something something totally different than when I think barbershop.
So what we wanted to do is we wanted to make an experience where it felt like a rustic, man-centric country club, but we felt like that you had to see it to get it. We felt like you had to see it to get it. And so that's why we made the first haircut $1. Now let's talk about that. The first haircut, the first $1, we donate that $1 to Compassion International. Now, for people out there that aren't familiar with this, I hope you become familiar with this because that's where some of your money, when you come in to get a haircut at Elephant in the Room, some of your money's going here, okay? And Compassion International is an organization that provides food and clothing and Christian education for kids living in poverty. And I guess the best way to describe it would be, you know how there's some of the programs where you pay $45 a month and then they send you a picture of the young child?
Oh, to adopt a kid, right?
They send, so you get updates about how the
Or
kid's
sponsor a
doing,
kid.
how the child's doing.
Yeah.
You get a photo of them. They write you handwritten notes.
Yep.
And you write them handwritten notes, and it's a great relationship there, and you can see the impact you're making.
I've been doing that for over a decade with
Really?
a bunch of kids. Yeah.
So
great
my
organization.
wife is a wonderful woman, and my wife, what happens is that you open up the fridge because I have the fridge, and you open it up to get something out of it, and you look and you're like, oh, there's a picture, and what's that? And she's, oh, this is a child we're sponsoring. Well, pretty soon you say, well, what's that? Those are 2 kids we're sponsoring. Pretty soon you can't find the fridge. Like, where's the fridge? Oh, they're behind the wall of the photos. Because my wife is a very generous person, and we've wanted to find a way. What's the best way that we could reach out and make the biggest impact sustainably? And so we decided that every time you come in to get your hair cut, that first $1, that goes to compassion.com. So again, the simple idea was, let's address the elephant in the room in Tulsa. The elephant in the room is the average guy has a haircut that's regrettable or a haircut experience that's not good. And there are so many kids in third world countries that are out there starving, literally. What if we could address that issue, world hunger, while also helping provide a great experience? But the reason why the first haircut was $1 was why, Aaron? Why is, when you make the first haircut $1, why is that a powerful move?
Because it becomes a no-brainer for the customer. Somebody who's out there and they maybe aren't happy, or maybe they even are happy with where they get their haircut. It's like, it's $1. What do I have to lose?
Now, let me explain this to the listeners. When we first opened up Elephant in the Room, we thought we're a bunch of geniuses. We thought the average guy might want to get a haircut that would take about 45 minutes to an hour. Now, Aaron,
Probably not.
see, you are easy. You now come in from Mount Judgemore. You come in, and it's easy for you to see. No, it's easy for
very
you. No,
judgmental.
seriously, it is easy for you to say right now, and for you to see clearly that nobody is a man, typically no busy man, no businessman, wants to have a haircut that takes an hour.
No.
Why?
Because it's a non-event in my life that I just want to be done with and get it over with. And I only do it because it becomes very awkward when I'm completely unkempt and I go for 7 months without cutting
That
any hair.
ponytail doesn't cut it
Yeah.
for you?
But we knew that the guys wanted to appreciate a haircut experience of some kind. And Andrew, your wife she's the super manager.
That's true.
She runs all 3 stores, and we
Yep.
knew that the haircut needed to be more than like 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did was the first haircut's $1,
Mhm.
and we started inviting my friends on Facebook, people that I have known for years, people that I kind of acquaintances through Facebook. And I would call these guys after their haircut, and I'd say, how was it? And I kept hearing this idea. And it took me about a month of hearing this. They would say, like the staff, like the haircut. It's too long. And I go, how is it too long? They said, I felt like I had a relationship with the guy. I mean, it was like I was in there to get my haircut, and it's like 45 minutes in, and I don't know that I want my haircut to take me an hour or 45 minutes.
I feel like it grew out another inch while I was
Also,
finishing up
and
the
you guys
haircut.
might think this is hysterical. It wasn't hysterical for me, but this is the thing. Some of the hair salons that are out there across the country, they do a hand massage with the haircut. So they do a hand massage. Now, Aaron, if another man was massaging your hand in the shampoo bowl room for 10 minutes, what would be wrong with that? And in your mind, seriously, what would be wrong with that?
It would get a little bit awkward. I actually don't want another man touching my hands at all.
For a 10-minute hand massage?
Or
No.
a minute.
Would that bother
or,
you,
or
James?
A 1
Yes.
minute
Yeah,
hand
right.
massage.
It
Yes.
would bother you?
Yes. You know, I sit right around the call center sometimes, and I hear some of the people
Yeah.
talking. And Adrian was like, "Listen, this woman just called, and she demanded that a man cut her husband's hair because she didn't want another woman touching it."
So what you have to do when you run a business, again, you have the first idea. I'm trying to teach somebody out there how to do this. You have the first idea. Okay, I want to provide a better haircut experience than anybody else. It starts there. Now, after you've defined, here's what you do. You have to define the sights, the sounds, the smells. You define everything that you think would work. So we sat down and I chose the music. I made the playlist. Our team, we worked to develop a smell. Like, what's the smell? How should it smell in there? The sights, the sounds, the smells. The build-out was modern, rustic, barnwood, a neat atmosphere, a great atmosphere. But then you go out there and you say, hey, I want to cut your haircut for $1. And when you cut someone's hair for $1 and then you have the courage to ask them after the haircut, hey, what did you not like about it? And when you start to hear over and over and over, I really don't want a hand massage from another man.
Yeah.
And I really don't want a 45-minute to a 60-minute haircut from a man or from a woman. Just I don't want it to be that long.
Yeah.
There still is somebody. There were people. There were actual people, not the majority, but some said, I do like the hour-long haircut, and I do like the hand massage from a man.
Yeah.
You eventually have to make a decision, and Aaron, you can't make everybody happy. So how do you make the decision? That's the question. How do you make the decision?
Well, I mean, you just have to take the feedback from your customers. They're going to tell you, a customer will lead you to what you need to be offering. I mean, it's just like we had a floor plan for years that was our most popular floor plan.
Yep.
And we kept hearing over and over and over and over again that people don't want a formal dining room anymore. And it took us a while, but we eventually didn't have floor plans that had it.
So sights, sounds, smells. This is something some of our old school members will remember this. We used to serve an adult beverage. One of the partners said, I would like to have an adult beverage. Could we have like a strong beer free with every haircut? And we thought, well, and again, there's partners. So there's partners. I'm a guy right away, just throwing it out there, folks. I'm going, I don't want to do an adult beverage. That's my bias. I don't want to do that. I have a lot of reasons for that. Other partners said, hey, let's give it a whirl. Well, true story. A guy comes in, and he probably already had, 6 to 7 beers.
Oh.
And he comes in and gets a beer. And, no, true story. And he gets a beer, and he leaves one of the shops. He left the downtown shop, and he runs into something. Now, it didn't hurt anybody, other than just probably his pride. But they ask, sir, please pull over. The police, they show up. Sir, what are you doing? You drinking? You driving while you're drinking? Okay. Sir, where were you drinking? He said, well, I was at the haircut place. Well, then we get a call. Pretty soon it's like, are you guys serving enough beer to intoxicate a man during the middle of the day? Because some people would have a beer during the middle of their workday.
Or 6.
Oh, yeah, or 6. And so I just decided, I don't want to get into that space in that place. Also, it occurred to me that a lot of guys would call about 3 or 4 weeks after their haircut, and they would try to schedule the next haircut. But James, more often than not, we were booked out. So a guy says, hey, can I get in tomorrow for a haircut? And we were booked out. So it occurred to us we should do a membership model, and therefore guys could pre-book their next haircut. Now, James, you are an attorney.
That's right.
Why does pre-booking a haircut make sense for a guy like you that travels a lot? Why does that make sense?
Well, it's like what Aaron was saying. It's not something we want to think about. It's just something that needs to get done. And so if it's recurring and it's pre-scheduled, you don't have to think about it.
So again, we came up with this idea. The model was, let's make a haircut. The big idea at the beginning was, let's make a haircut experience that's better than anybody else in town. Let's have great decor, great music, nice ambiance. Let's have professionally trained stylists. And we're going to do $1 for the first haircut, and then we're going to learn something. We're going to ask the customers, what can we do better?
Yeah.
Now, here's what I determined after 1 year of being in business. If we charged $15 a haircut, we could never be profitable. No, I'm being serious, because I thought we could do it all, and maybe we could get in there for $15. Now, the problem about the hair industry, let me explain this to everybody out there who doesn't know the hair industry. If you're a young woman or a young man or an old man or an old woman and you're cutting hair, that's your career. You're a professional stylist.
Mm-hmm.
If it rains, you have no clients that day. Aaron, why do you believe, why is it that in Oklahoma, very few hair salons are busy when it rains, when it snows, when it's super hot? Why does that impact whether men get a haircut or not?
I really don't know because it's crazy to me because where I come from, it's not.
You're
that
from
way.
Michigan.
Yeah.
Okay, James, let me ask you, when it's like raining heavily outside or it's super hot, super cold, why do you think that traditionally impacts whether a stylist is busy or not?
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that because I don't understand it either. But I would guess that people don't want to come out in that weather.
That's it. Okay. So what we found, though, is these stylists. So imagine you're a young lady or a young man. You're somebody trying to provide for your family, and you're watching Channel 8, Channel 2, Channel 6. You're watching the news every night going, oh, I hope it doesn't rain. Because you get no tips. You have no clients. And a lot of the places in Tulsa are booth rent. So it's where you as a stylist are actually paying money to the facility.
To have nobody show up.
Yeah, so you're paying money per month to rent a booth.
Yeah.
And then you are hoping customers come in, and then you pay a percentage of your revenue back to the house because you rent the booth. I thought, what if we do it where the stylists make $12 an hour? 11 an hour, 12 an hour, whatever their rate is. They make an hourly rate they can count on.
Yeah.
And then all their haircuts are pre-booked. What if we did that? And now what if we do every haircut in 27 minutes so they can do 2 haircuts an hour? What we found is that most stylists that come to work for us tell us they make between 50% and 2 times more than they used to make. They tell us, I used to work at this place. One of our ladies, she just left, great teammate. She just left to move, and she told me she always made double of what, she just moved to a different state, but she said she made double of what she used to make at her other jobs. So that's an exciting thing. So when you're out there and you're an elephant in the room member, yes, you can have the convenience of having your haircut pre-booked so you don't have to look around on your calendar and play phone tag with the call center. But also the stylists have consistent pay, they have consistent income, and it really is a symbiotic relationship, and it makes it powerful. So again, if you're out there today and you say, Clay, I'm thinking about starting a company, how do I do it? One, you got to think about what can you do better than anybody else. And I was thinking about the little blue chairs at a lot of hair places. There's like an old magazine from what? Like it's like the headline is it's like a breaking story. The People magazine, Princess Diana dies in tragic tunnel accident. And you're like, oh my gosh, what happened? Oh, wait a minute, that was from 95 or 99.
Oh.
Yeah.
Old magazines, old
Monica
sports.
Lewinsky. Okay. Well,
Right. Oh, there's like old. I thought, let's not do that. Let's not have that old let's overhead music. Let's not have you come into a place where there's no overhead music, where there's no ambiance. Let's create an ambiance that makes sense. The decor, let's make it great. Let's make it very man-centric. Let's do all of that. And then let's come up with a membership option that guys understand. Let's make it where we donate the first $1 of the haircut to Compassion International. But we got to make this thing work for our ideal and likely buyers. So step one, you come up with the big idea. What can you do better than anybody else? But step two, you have to define your ideal and likely buyers. Aaron, not everybody is an ideal and likely buyer for every business. So for Shaw Homes, who's a good fit to buy a Shaw home?
Somebody who is in between a certain price range, so about $220,000 to about $700,000.
Got it.
If you're over that $700,000 price range, you're probably not going to fit us.
If it's like super custom, probably
if
not
it's
a good.
super custom,
Yeah.
you're not going to fit into that.
If you don't want to live in a
category.
neighborhood, not a good fit.
Yeah, if you want to be out on a bunch of acreage or something, we build in neighborhoods that we develop.
Is that
So
offensive for some people?
for some people? If you're the guy that wants the pole yarn and you want to raise, say, silky chickens in your backyard.
You don't do pole barns?
We don't do pole barns and farm animals.
Really? Now, okay, don't think about this for a second, folks. I have built DJConnection.com. I have built EpicPhotos.com. I have built MakeYourLifeEpic.com. The Thrive Time Show podcast. I've had a lot of success with different industries. I helped to build Party Perfect, which is now Party Pro, the Tulsa Bridal Association, the bridal shows. I have built Juliet Films, a videography company. I can go on and on listing all the companies. And every time I work with a company, every time I start a business, I figure out who are the ideal and likely buyers. And for Epic Photos, James, I no longer own the company anymore, so they might have changed their strategy since I've sold the business. But what kind of person would hire a wedding photographer?
Well, somebody who's getting married.
Andrew,
I think.
what kind of person hires a wedding photographer? You actually used to work there.
I did, yeah.
Who hires a wedding photographer?
Who hires a wedding photographer would be the bride and the bride's father or mother be paying for it.
Did you say father?
Yes.
Did you mean father?
One of the parents is going to be
Listen.
paying for it.
I probably had a father of the bride come in once a year just so I would remember that he's part of the wedding. It was always the bride.
I was going to say, it has to
Bride's
be the
mom.
mother of the bride.
Well, the
yes.
father's paying and the mother, the bride, and the bride are the ones actually showing up.
You're a sick, twisted freak.
It's too true.
Now, I want to make sure people get this, though, because if I designed the epic photos to accommodate the father of the bride, it would feel like Elephant in the Room. No, seriously, this is super important.
Yep.
And for epic photography, it occurred to me very quickly, wow, we're only dealing with the bride.
Mm-hmm.
The groom-to-be might show up one time, but it's usually the bride and her mom.
Yep.
And for Shaw Homes, I mean, do you have a lot of dudes calling? Is it mostly women? Who's driving the purchase of a Shaw home?
It is 90% of the time, it is the woman.
But men can call.
Rarely do they.
Now, this is going to be offensive for somebody out there who loves Antifa. It's a men's grooming lounge. Men's grooming lounge. Now, occasionally someone says, I would like to come to the men's grooming lounge, and I'm not a man. I'm not going to check. I'm just going to say, okay. No, but this is big, though, because you have to figure out who your ideal and likely buyer is, and you can't negotiate, or if someone doesn't fit that criteria, you just have to accept it's not for everybody. Another example,
True.
Southwest Airlines has unassigned seating. There's no assigned seats, which is incredibly convenient in terms of boarding the plane, getting off the plane, but incredibly inconvenient for somebody who wants assigned seats. So you have to have that thought, who is your ideal and likely buyer? James, you're an attorney.
Yep.
Do you primarily work with men or women?
Both.
What's the majority? If you had to choose, I mean, you only got, $10 to spend on advertisements, and you have to check the box. Do these ads reach men or women?
I would say more men probably.
and
But there are fair share of women also.
Most of the attorneys that I've worked with are telling me, 70% of the people are men that reach out, 30% women. Would you agree with that? Or
That sounds like a good number, good ratio.
So let's go here. Step one, again, if you're building a business, okay? You want to create an experience that is better than your competition. You have to start with the big idea. So at shawhomes.com, what is the big idea? What makes Shaw Homes better than any other builder in Oklahoma, or at least in terms of the quantity of homes you're selling? It's certainly the largest home builder in Oklahoma. What makes Shaw stand out from the other home building companies?
We have more furnished and decorated model homes to look at than any other builder
Yep.
in Oklahoma. So the customer wants to be able to see what they're going to buy. They don't like to just look at a floor plan or at a home that's been built that's empty, doesn't have any furniture in it. They can better visualize if their furniture is going to fit in a master bedroom when there's a king-size bed and 2 nightstands and a dresser and those things. So it's the visualization standpoint of it. It's also more locations than any other builder. We have 38 different locations to choose from.
Yep.
And over 500 home sites to select from and 68 floor plans. So it's just a ton of options, even though we're not fully custom. You can't draw me out a plan that's never been built before. I won't do that. But we do have more options than anybody else in the state.
So step one, folks, again, I've been blessed to have a lot of success as an entrepreneur, and I'm trying to teach some of those moves to you. One, you've got to figure out what is it that you're going to do that's going to stand out in the marketplace. What's going to allow you to gain traction? What is the parking space that's open for you to park in the marketplace? What is the niche that you want to scratch? What is the problem that you're going to solve? Now, step two, you got to define who are your ideal and likely buyers. Who are your ideal and likely buyers? And if you're listening to this right now and you're an Elephant in the Room customer, we hope that you are one of our ideal and likely buyers. And move number 3, you got to create an experience that wows. You have to create an experience that wows. Seth Godin, the best-selling author of the book called The Purple Cow, the man who took $20,000 in savings and turned it into a company called Yo-Yo Dine, which he eventually sold for $30 million to Yahoo. Reads, if you're remarkable, it's likely that some people won't like you. And that's part of the definition of remarkable. Nobody gets unanimous praise ever. The best the timid can hope for is to be unnoticed. Criticism comes to those who stand out. So what we want to do at Elephant in the Room is we want to create an experience that wows. Will it wow everybody? No. But we hope that it wows you, and we hope that when you come in for your first haircut, you can decide whether the value proposition makes sense for you. It's $1. So people always say, well, what's the catch? When they call, and we have a call center, by the way. We have no phones in the stores. So when you call, the phones never ring in the stores, which allows the stylist to be 100% focused on cutting your hair. Think about those poor men and women that have to answer the phone while attempting to cut someone's hair. Have you seen this before, Aaron?
Yes.
It's like the phone's ringing. Oh, sir, sorry. Let me go get the phone. I'm so sorry. And they go get the phone, and they answer the phone. They say, yada yada cuts. How can I help you? And they go, yeah, I'm trying to schedule a haircut here for. Oh, sir, let me put you on hold for a second. And they come back, sir, I'm so sorry. I don't normally do this. I want to offer you a great hair experience today. And you go, it's okay. And then next phone rings, and they go around. And it's like they're playing like a tennis almost with the phone.
Yes.
Ka-cha.
Well, they're in the middle of cutting your hair, and they walk away to go answer the phone, too.
It's tough.
Yeah.
And they got to greet people at the front desk.
Yeah.
We have a front desk person that greets people, so the stylists never have to greet anybody. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of thought we put into making the experience. But again, is everybody going to love it? No. That's why it's $1. And that's why we allow, we say, try it out. If it's a great fit, we want you to come back over and over. And if it's not, we're not offended.
So why did you move from the 10-minute hand massage to let's say a hand paraffin treatment? Was that like a define, act, measure, refine type thing?
Yeah, it was a thing where you go in with a lot of ideas, many ideas that worked out very well, many ideas that didn't work at all. I mean, we had one idea. One of our stylists said, I was talking to a customer, and he said he'd love to buy shoes. I said, you would like to buy shoes? He said, yeah, he'd love to buy shoes because he's already here getting his hair cut. He figures he's already there, and he doesn't
to cover the top and the bottom of himself.
Exactly. No, this was a logic though. The guy says this customer. He said he always comes in and he's already taken that half hour out of his schedule to get the haircut. Might as well buy his shoes.
Wow.
Now we're thinking this guy's on to something.
That's true.
So through some contacts, I got in touch with a guy who sells wholesale shoes. But not like discount shoes. I'm talking about the big brands, the Cole Haans. Yeah. The what are the brands? The Cole
Bass is one probably.
Bass,
right?
yeah.
Johnston and Murphy.
What's another brand? There's a few more that are kind of big too.
Gucci.
I know we didn't have Gucci. We do have Johnston Murphy.
Hugo Boss.
I think we did. So I get a hold of this guy and he says, "You want to buy some shoes?" I said, "Yeah." What kind of shoes do you got? He says, "Well, I got a lot of shoes." So true story. I think we stroked a check for about $30,000. And you can buy a lot of shoes for $30,000.
Wow.
Wholesale. These are like, did you ever see these, Andrew?
No, but I've heard this before.
It's a powerful story. And so the shoes are delivered, and I tell the staff, guys, we got to pick up the shoes. The shoes are coming in. The shoes are coming in hot. So we have guys, all of our staff are grabbing dollies, and they're bringing in the shoes. And it occurs to be like, man, we've got a ton of shoes.
Do you have a room full of shoes in your house, in your basement somewhere?
I have about 10 pairs left there, but this is what happens. So guys, some of the guys initially are like, so you come in to get your hair cut, and this is all in the first year. When you're trying it out, you've got to get a bunch of ideas out there, and you have to let the market give you feedback. So we say, hey, you're here for your haircut? Aaron, okay, your haircut's at 3. That sounds great. When you finish your haircut, by the way, we have a wide... we have a wide selection of shoes.
You can't even say it without laughing.
I know now, but at the time it was like, this is genius. There's no we could do a Jiffy Lube and a hair place. We could think about it. They both take about a half an hour.
Changing your oil while you're getting your hair.
No, there are so many because when you're getting going, there's so many ideas. Well, anyway, so about the first, I don't know, few dozen customers are saying, yeah, I would like to see I'd like to see the shoe selection. And we say, surely you would like to see the shoe selection? So we take them out back, and they go look. And then it occurs to us like the back room looks like a back room.
Like a warehouse.
Because it is a back room, because it's not our showroom.
Yeah.
And then the guys would go, I like this. Do you have this in a 14? Yeah, well, Do you have it in a 12? And then they'd start asking your feedback like Like, which one is better for a wide foot? And our stylists are asking me, hey, which one's better for a wide foot? And every guy's like, can I try this on? Or do you have some socks I could wear and I could
All
put on?
covered
Or
in hair.
can I try can I put the no, I'm being serious. Or like, can I special order? I'd like to get a 15. I want to get a 14 now, but I got a 15. My son's he's coming in tomorrow. Could you hold these? Could you put these on hold for me?
Layaway program.
And then they're like, do you have that metal thing? I'm like, what metal thing? You know, the metal thing?
The shoehorn.
The-
Is that what
it's
it is?
like
the
no,
measure.
the foot
the
measuring.
measuring thing,
Yeah.
and I go,
The
yeah,
ruler.
okay. Do you have that? And then and then the guys are asking. My son, he's growing quick. He's 13. I mean, how long do you think he can wear these? And you're starting, and all of a sudden you're going, there's a lot here. Now it doesn't. It didn't stop there. No. Then the guy said, hey, since I'm buying my shoes here, could I go ahead and leave them, and that way you guys could shine them?
Wow.
And we're like,
By the way, that's called a Brannock device.
a
That
Brannock
foot-
device?
The metal foot measuring
Oh.
thing. It's a Brannock.
Beautiful. No, seriously, guys started saying, well, can I get my shoes shined? And then we're going, yes.
Of course we
So
can.
I got a hold of a guy who shines
Is this
shoes.
Sneaks? Is this Sneaks?
It was kind of a guy like Sneaks. He was a guy who used to, back in the day, shine shoes at the airport and now has moved on to shining shoes somewhere else. And he says, listen, buddy, you can count on me. This is great. I'll be there every day. I'll work off of tips. I mean, this is big. You just pay me a base pay. And that dude would show up maybe 1/4 of the time. 20% of the time, he was there 100% of the time. This guy. I mean, it was a disaster. And then people wanted to leave their shoes to have them shined. Guy shows up one time, no true story. He wants his shoes. Apparently, we gave his shoes to someone else. I mean, it was like the shoes were probably an heirloom or something. They're very important shoes. All I'm saying is that we had to get out of the idea phase, and this is the final teaching moment I want to give you. We have to define what we thought would work.
Yep.
Then you have to act. You define, you act, then you measure, you get the feedback, and then you refine. You define, act, measure, refine. And we found out at $15 a haircut, we can't make any money. We can't do an hour-long haircut. Dudes don't want a hand massage from another dude. We can't have phones in the stores to create that atmosphere. We need to have a call center. We can't sell the shoes. We can't shine your shoes. But you know what we can do? We can provide a great grooming experience, and we can do it at we try to make about a 20% profit margin. So if you're coming in to get your hair cut, and your bill's $40, we're wanting to make about $8, and we feel like we could do that and offer good jobs, good pay for our stylists. Yep. We could offer to take care of our stylists. We could be a profitable organization. And then we opened up the second store, and then the third, and the fourth, and the fifth. And that's really what Elephant in the Room is all about. And I hope that if you've been an Elephant in the Room member for any amount of time at all, you know that we do not typically send out podcasts to all of the Elephant in the Room customers. But on today's show, we're going to do that because so many of you have asked us, hey, could you tell me about your show? I've heard rumors about your show. I want to know more about the Thrive Time show. And on the Thrive Time show over the years, we've interviewed, on this very program, Seth Godin. We've interviewed Wolfgang Puck, John Maxwell, Sharon Lecter. So many big names that you would know. And if you want to learn more about the Thrive Time show, you can go to thrivetimeshow.com. That's thrivetimeshow.com. And on part 2 of today's show, we're going to be interviewing the author, Cameron Herold. And Cameron Herold, he's a TED Talks speaker. He's a CEO. He's a best-selling author. He joins us to share how you can teach entrepreneurship to your kids, why you must obsess about employee engagement to grow your business, what it was like to work with the Musks, Elon Musk and Kimball Musk, and what made them so successful. And then on part 3 of today's show, we interview one of my longtime clients, Andrew, one of your longtime clients, Tyler Hallblade.
That's right.
Of PrimoTrailer.com, and he shares with you his success story about how he's been able to grow his company by 400%. And then on the final portion of the show, we interviewed Dr. Mark Sherwood, who shares with us 5 specific moves that everybody else can implement out there, that we could all implement to get in the best shape possible. So we have an action-packed show for you. And Aaron, for anybody out there that's not familiar with the Thrive Time show, how would you describe what the Thrive Time show is all about?
The podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I would say it is all about how to be successful with your business, all the actionable steps from, beginning of the inception of an idea all the way through growing it and scaling it into something that is duplicatable, easily duplicatable, and everything in between.
So if you're out there listening for the first time, I'm Clay Clark. I'm the co-founder of Elephant in the Room. That's James D. Cristofaro. He's an attorney from Manhattan, New York. That's Andrew Bloomer, one of the business consultants up here at the Thrive Time Show. And we have Aaron Antis, who runs Oklahoma's largest home building company. We appreciate you for being an Elephant in the Room customer, and we can't wait to chop your mop next time you find yourself in need. And we recommend you get on the membership plan, and that way you never have to get turned away. You can always get pre-booked. Our stylists can count on you. You can count on them, and it's a win-win.
There's a discount too, isn't there?
You do get a discount when you pre-book. When you do a membership, you're basically prepaying for your next haircut at a discount. So I'm Clay Clark, and now we're moving on to part 2 of today's edition of the Thrive Time Show on your radio and podcast download as we interview Cameron Herold. Cameron Herold, the best-selling author, award-winning business consultant, whirlwind. He's a kind of an entrepreneur wizard. And I think you're going to love this interview with Cameron Herold coming up next. Get your mop chop tight at the shop, that's right. Roll up in the driveway and wow your wife. Say no to the bowl cuts, just say no to the flat top rock in Rocky Foam. Be cautionary about that cut bank Caesar, or rocking too much gel like you're a Guido diva. If the elephant in the room is on your head, take the $1 haircut challenge instead. We invite you out, the founder and me. Your first haircut is $1, and if you don't like it, it's free. It's the elephant in the room, it's the place to be. You're listening to the Thrive Time Show with Clay and Z. Yeah. Z, Z, Z. Silver. Z, Z, Z. Silver. Z, Z, Z. Silver. Z, Z.
And now, for more wallet-expanding knowledge that you don't get in college.
All right, Thrive Nation, we're moving on to part 2 of today's edition of the Thrive Time Show on your radio and podcast download. And what we like to do on each and every edition of the Thrive Time Show is we like to round up somebody who's clearly an expert, somebody who knows what they're doing, somebody who's a master of their craft. And so now, without any further ado, Cameron Herold, welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. How are you, sir?
Good, Clay. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Cameron, your resume is pretty impressive there. I mean, you are the founder of an organization. You're a coach to CEOs and COOs. You're a keynote speaker. You're an author. Could you share with the listeners what exactly is it that you do?
Sure. So I run an organization called the COO Alliance, which is the only organization of its kind in the world for the second in command. I have a course launching next week called Invest in Your Leaders, which is for all companies to actually grow the soft skills of their leaders and managers. I've written 5 books. They're all really strong sellers over the last 11 years, and I've done paid speaking events now in 26 countries. And I was also the second in command for 1-800-GOT-JUNK. I took them from 14 employees up to 3,100 employees in 6 years. I left there 14 years ago.
Wow. You know, we had the founder of 1-800-GOT-JUNK on the show, and we've heard nothing but great things about that organization. Obviously, you've had massive success, but before you started to get that traction, what was life like growing up for you? I mean, where did you grow up? Tell us about your background.
Sure. I grew up in Northern Ontario in Canada. I was groomed as an entrepreneur. In fact, I did a main TED Talk. It's on the main TED website about 11 years ago called Raising Kids as Entrepreneurs. And it was all about how I was groomed to be an entrepreneur by my father and my 2 grandparents. My brother and sister and I were all groomed to be entrepreneurs. We've all run our own companies for between 15 and 25 years. It's really all we ever knew. When I was 21 years old, I had 12 full-time employees. So I was in second year university running a business, ran that for 3 years. And then when I graduated from university, I started coaching entrepreneurs. And that was before coaching was even a thing. I was coaching entrepreneurs back in 1989. I'd coached 120 different entrepreneurs by 1994, including Kimball Musk, who built, Elon's brother, and then also his cousin, Peter Reeve, who built Solar City. I'd coached both of them in 1993. And then built a couple of companies, built 2 different companies, actually, one that we built and sold, one that we built and took public. One is called Gerber Auto Collision in the U.S. And then I joined Brian, who was my best friend at the time, and we were in a forum together with the Entrepreneurs Organization, a mastermind group. I joined him as his second in command, and that's when we kind of built out 1-800-GOT-JUNK.
Can we talk about Elon Musk's brother for a second? Not a lot of people ever speak about Elon Musk's brother. What was your interaction with Elon's brother like? And is he also a mind-bending genius?
He is, and I was a reference for Elon and Kimball in their first round of funding in January of 1995 for Zip2. They wouldn't fund Elon because he was kind of the aeronautical engineering dropout from Stanford and had never done anything, and Kimball had at least run a business. So the company, Kleiner Perkins, it was only Kleiner at the time, the venture capital firm, invested in Kimball's operational experience and the vision that Elon was able to put out. Kimball is definitely very smart, super, super smart. He owns a chain of restaurants now called The Kitchen. He's got some vertical organic growing businesses for food, does a lot in the charity space. He is probably less autistic or less Aspergerish than Elon would be. Elon definitely, is out on that fringe a little bit more. Kimball would be considered more, quote unquote, normal. But yeah, Kimball is very, very smart.
And it's excuse me, and it's Kimball, Kimbal. Hey, Aaron, had you heard about Kimball Musk previous to right now?
I had not.
Kimball Musk.
Yeah, Kimball and Elon both built their first company called Zip2, and they raised when they wanted me as a reference, they were looking to raise $600,000. They actually raised $3 million, which is why College Pro Painters is written up in Elon's book. And then from there, they went on and built out Zip2, and 2.5 years later, sold the company to Compaq for I think it was $315 million in cash. And that was the money that Elon then used with Peter Thiel to launch or to really grow PayPal, because he didn't start PayPal. Peter had started it, and that was really the launching point. He then acquired Tesla from Ian Wright and Martin Eberhard, and they kind of built that company out, and SpaceX, et cetera.
And you'll have to put up with me just for a second here. I realize we didn't bring you on today's show to talk about Kimball Musk, but I have one more Kimball Musk question for you. What is it that you believe has allowed Kimball and Elon to become so successful? I mean, because you worked, you were up there close and personal with these guys. What is it that makes them so successful?
It's an obsession for excellence, an exception for kind of driving towards goals, and just really, really very driven, and they don't really care what others around them think. Kimball was a great leader as a franchisee. He had a number of great employees, but he was a very charismatic, inclusive, great customer engaged leader, but very driven, like goal, driven. And they have an ability to have fun. They don't take life too seriously. Neither of them have really ever taken life too seriously. And I think that bleeds into the culture, right, where they're building a little bit more than a business and a little bit less than a religion.
So with your career, when did you feel like you were starting to really gain traction?
A few points. One, when I was at College Pro Painters, I was one of their top franchisees in North America. So out of, I think, 345 franchises in Canada, I ranked number 2. I don't know where I would have ranked in the U.S. But, overall, I was a really, really strong franchisee at a very young age. So I learned how to run companies. Then building the auto body chain, I don't think I was kicking any stride. I didn't love the industry, even though we were successful. Running a private currency company, similar to what Bitcoin is doing today, we did that 20 years ago. We had Starwood Hotel, Avis Rent-A-Cars, Budget, Hard Rock Cafe, all using our digital currency 22 years ago. So that was fun, and I was definitely kicking a stride then. But then 1-800 got junk, probably 2 years in, when we were on Oprah. We landed 5,200 stories about our company in 6 years before social media existed. That was probably when we were kicking our stride. And then we twice ranked number 1 to work for in British Columbia. And then my second last year there, we ranked number 2 in all of Canada to work for. That's probably when I was like, holy, we actually know what we're doing. Like we're getting that third-party credibility, the social proof. All aspects of the business were firing on cylinders. We'd gone from 2 million to 106 million in 6 years. And I ran everything except IT and finance. So I ran sales, operations, call center, franchise sales, marketing, PR, and Brian ran IT and finance. And we were just that amazing, totally dynamic team. So that was when I realized I kicked it into gear. And then my insecurities hit hard when I started coaching other CEOs globally. And I was coaching typically companies of 50 to 500 employees. But I really started to doubt myself and have, for a few years, a little bit of that imposter syndrome. And then I got my first book out the door, and that raised my speaking fees. And probably, I guess, in the last 6 years, my confidence has really kind of hit a nice confident level where there's no ego anymore. It's just more quiet confidence and I guess some of the wisdom of age, right?
So what I like to do, if I can, is I want to tap into some of your wisdom of age here and your experience. And we have Aaron Antis in the studio here, who runs Oklahoma's largest home building company. And we also have James D. Cristofaro. He's an attorney from New York in the studio here. And I know they want to ask you some questions as well. So I want to ask you this first. When you are working with a small business owner or a COO or somebody with a decision maker, where do you see most people getting it wrong as it relates to operations?
Most of them don't obsess about the employee engagement enough. And I think if you really, really obsess about the employee being your number one priority, not your customer, not profits, not revenue, but truly happy, engaged employees that are growing, when you really obsess about them, they'll take care of your customer, and then you can charge whatever you want, and profits and revenue just follow. I think most entrepreneurs have that backwards. That would be first. Secondly, I think most entrepreneurs are not focused enough. They're all over the place. And it's hard to stay focused, like, with all the things that are happening on social media and all the advice we get and all the different things you could be doing and potential customers and expansion, et cetera, and then all the random ideas they have. But truly staying laser focused, if you disperse light, it can light up a room, but if you highly focus it, it's like a laser. I think most entrepreneurs aren't focused enough.
So when you say focusing on employee engagement, where would you see, you mean making sure you're touching base with all the employees and make sure that everybody knows the vision, or maybe could you add some extra clarity to that?
Yeah, it's just making sure that your employees are really, really happy. So the happiness of employees comes with first being aligned with vision, what I call that vivid vision that I've written up in 3 of my books. Secondly, it's really making sure that your company is obsessed around living your core values. They're not just up on the wall, but you fire people who break them. You only recruit and hire people who live them. You praise based on them. You celebrate them. And then really driving towards your BHAG, that big, hairy, audacious goal that drives people, and then core purpose. So when you really align your employees with that stuff, that's huge. And then next, it would be really firing, getting rid of any of the negative, grumpy, toxic people so that you're left with truly a team of A players and B players, but all the C players are gone. When you do that, and then you flip the org chart upside down, so the entrepreneur is supporting the VPs, who are supporting the managers, who are supporting the employees, who are supporting the customers, kind of like an inverted pyramid, that's where the cult really starts to develop. And then that highest employee net promoter score that you get when your employees are really, really, really happy, like when we ranked number 2 to work for in Canada, we didn't have to hold people accountable. They were already accountable. We didn't have to align them. They self-aligned. We didn't have to motivate them. They woke up motivated. So if you really obsess about that stuff, they'll take care of your customers. But if you're so obsessed about customer satisfaction, then the employees feel like they're being overworked to take care of the customer. But if the employees realize you care most about them, then they'll go through brick walls to take care of your customer, and that's what allows you to charge the premium and deliver.
A question for you. You mentioned your books that you've written in the past. For those out there, Cameron, that are not familiar with the book titles you've written in the past, what are the books you've written in the past, and where can people go and get them?
Yeah, all of my books are available on Amazon, Audible, and iTunes. So I first wrote Double Double. That came out 11 years ago. Seth Godin actually wrote the cover testimonial of that. And that teaches people how to double their revenue and profit in 3 years or less. My second book that I wrote was called Meetings Suck, and it was based because most employees and companies were complaining that their meetings sucked, but they'd never trained anyone on how to run them, nor had they ever trained anyone on how to show up and participate at them. And it's funny, when Elon put out a tweet about a year ago telling his employees, if you're in a stand up and leave, I sent him a text message right after. I said, no, that's fix the root problem. If you fix meetings, they won't be in bad meetings to have to leave. So that's why I wrote Meetings Suck, was for every employee. Then I came out with Vivid Vision, which really articulates that vision that you align people with. The book after that was The Miracle Morning for Entrepreneurs that I co-authored with Hal Elrod. And then the fourth one, which just came out about a year ago, was called Free PR. And it just teaches you how to actually land all the free press that we landed.
So right now, before we open it up for Aaron Antis to ask you some questions, if you could give our listeners some wisdom about what makes a great meeting and what makes a bad meeting. I think a lot of well-meaning entrepreneurs, a lot of well-meaning business owners, number 2s, COOs, they have a staff meeting. They're being disciplined enough to schedule the meeting, to start the meeting on time, and they have a vision in their mind for how the meeting is going to go. And then once it comes into contact with the staff, it falls apart and it doesn't go the way they wanted it. What advice would you have for the listeners out there on how to make a more engaging staff meeting, if you do have to have them?
Yeah, a few things. So first off, you don't have a staff meeting. You have a meeting for something. So your meeting has to have a clear purpose and outcomes. So you can have a meeting to review the financials, or a meeting to review the dashboard, or a meeting to set goals, a meeting to brainstorm on something. But you don't just have a meeting titled based on who's coming. You have the meeting titled on what you're getting done. Secondly is everyone checks their cell phone at the door or when they enter the Zoom room. So if you're busy and you need to be looking at your cell phone while you're in a meeting, it means you're too busy. Go do your other work. But it's like a high Olympic athlete. You don't see an athlete running down the track checking their email. They're running down the track, and when they're finished, then they check their email. So forcing everyone to be very present in the meeting or don't show up, and it's totally cool if you don't show up. It means you have other priorities to work on. That includes the entrepreneur. Nobody gets to opt out of being focused. Third is making sure that you have a moderator in a parking lot and a timekeeper. So the moderator to make sure that people stay on track with the agenda, so that when those random ideas come up or people are talking over people, they can keep people on track. The timekeeper makes sure that you hit each of the items on the agenda, and the parking lot is where you write down any ideas that are worth discussing, but afterwards and kind of offline. Those would be some basic tips.
Aaron Antis, you at Shaw Homes manage a large team, Oklahoma's largest home building business. Undoubtedly, managing people ultimately becomes the biggest limiting factor at a certain point. What questions would you have, or question would you have for Cameron Herold?
Well, first of all, Cameron, I love on your website the CEO survey. I love this concept. You mention in the second question in that questionnaire the strategic plan in place, where you talk about your plan is managed from Asana or similar and is referred to weekly by the leadership team. Your COO considers cross-departmental dependencies, money, people, and time requirements. What do you think in just this strategic planning is a thing that I think a lot of people do business by accident and they grow by accident. So from a strategic planning perspective, what do you think is the most important thing for the COO to have their arms around with that?
Yeah, great question. So first part is we need to separate strategy and planning. So the reality is you do need a strategic plan, but you need strategy first. Strategy is where you're going and why you're getting there, so that people know where you're going and what might be coming. The plan is how you're going to make that happen. So, strategy is we're going to drive from LA to New York, and we're going to hit the 10 coolest road stops along the way. The plan is how you make that happen. Most people talk about strategic planning as a thing, and it's really two separate things that merge together. When you actually have your strategy and you know where you're going and you know how you're going to get there, the plan is really then who's doing what, are each business areas understanding what the interdepartmental dependencies are. Like, does marketing know what operations is doing this quarter, and do they know what their involvement might be? The reason that marketing and IT are always behind on their projects is not because they don't plan well. It's because all the other business areas keep going, oh, we should get marketing to make this more pretty. Oh, we should get marketing to tie this into the website. Oh, we should get marketing to tie this into, active campaign. But nobody gave marketing the heads up they were going to be needed. So now marketing is off their own plan because they get all this other random stuff thrown at them. Same with IT, right?
Yeah.
So the planning is around interdependencies. The next part for me on planning is to take a look at the actual project itself and break it down into steps, almost like building a home, right? If you're going to build a home, I could give you $2 million and say, build my dream home. But if I don't give you the vision of what you're building and you can't draw the blueprints of what you're building and we don't decide on a timeline, it might take you 3 years to build a home that might not look anything like what I want.
Yeah.
But now we can break down the home into the foundation and the walls and the electrical and the plumbing and the drywall, et cetera. And now you can kind of schedule it all out. You don't need to go as far as a Gantt chart, but understanding that methodology. And most entrepreneurs don't take the time to understand project management and time management. In fact, most entrepreneurs don't take the time to learn how to actually be leaders and managers. They spend more time learning the trade or the kind of what they do, but not how they do it.
That's good. Can I give a follow-up to that? In you're talking about all of these, these are some great ideas. I love that concept. What about, all of this doesn't work and the strategic planning doesn't work if you don't have the right people there. I always say that usually the answer to a question or a problem is not what, but it's who. And so with your part about systems in place for recruiting, interviewing, and hiring, what is the methodology you like most for finding those great, players and getting them in the right seats on the bus?
Great question. Jim Collins in his book Good to Great talks about getting the right people on the bus, the wrong people off the bus, and everybody in the right seats. And then Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy just came out with their book, First Who, Then What. The ideas are really merged closely together. So the first part is deciding where's the company going, what's the plan to get there, and then do we have those right seats on the bus? I like the methodologies from the book Who that Jeff Smart wrote. His dad, Brad, wrote the book Top Grading, but it's too complicated. Jeff really did a nice job on simplifying those systems down. So if you follow the systems in Top Grading, and even chapter 2 of my book, Double Double, it gives you some really solid take-homes on how to look at the resumes, decide what you're looking for, how to build a scorecard, how to do first and second interviews, how to do proper reference checks, so that you really look for both the cultural fit and the proven skill set. But I think that the methodologies from there are the strongest from Who. And then, I'm not trying to sell my books, but I did a good job with, only because at College Pro Painters, I don't know if you're aware of College Pro, but College Pro Painters, every year, there were 60 people at the head office, and we had to go out and get 800 franchisees. So every year they had to recruit and train and onboard 800 franchisees. And then those 800 franchisees would recruit and train in a month 8,000 painters.
Wow.
So we became operationally world-class. Yeah, imagine having to hire 8,800 people in 5 months every single year.
Whew.
And I was in the top 30 people in that company for 4 years. So we became operationally world-class at the recruiting and interviewing.
That's awesome.
And again, most companies, sadly, if you think about, YPO or EO or Vistage members, most of those companies have never trained their managers on how to do interviews, and yet all of their managers do interviews. It's astounding to me. Like, we would never send our kid off to play Little League Baseball without teaching them the basics, and yet we don't invest in our leaders to give them the basic skills they need.
Yeah.
So business isn't difficult. We make it difficult.
That's good.
James, you're an
Yes,
attorney.
that's right.
And Cameron, just so you're probably not aware of this, but our listeners are. James has a long history of doing almost like a Zach Galifianakis question, where he simultaneously insults the guest while painting him into a corner, and he does that while simultaneously making himself feel good at their expense. So, James, what question? With that being said, that preamble, what question do you have for Cameron Herold?
Okay, Cameron, it's so interesting that you mentioned College Pro, because I went down that process. I went through the whole process of just about to run a franchise. They came out to my territory, and I'd been telling the guy that was running it the whole time. I was like, listen, this is such a different market. I don't think it's going to work. He's like, yeah, it works. It works in every market. And I'd grown up in the Hamptons out in Southampton, and there's all these crazy high, and it doesn't. And so we went all the way down this process. He came out, and he's like, wow. It's really not going to work for this market. And so I had a positive experience with that, but I hadn't heard of it again until you just mentioned it. So I'm glad to hear that you've had a great experience with it, and that it's going well. And that's fascinating to me, because I understand more now, 25 or 30 years later, than when I first started talking to them. I really do appreciate the
what year was that?
Monumental
do you remember
task.
roughly what year that was?
Early 90s.
Really?
No. Sorry, mid 90s, probably 93, 94.
Yeah, that was my last year. Was 94. I'm curious who it was. Do you remember? Do you have a good enough memory to remember who it was that interviewed you?
The only thing I can say, and Clay, you're going to want to beep this out, is there's a guy that would always refer to this button thing during the presentations. And he was known for that. It was crazy. He would he'd probably say that 10 or 15 times. And I don't know if that.
Weird.
Are you
ties-
sure you're
Was
talking
that
about the same
Jeffrey-
thing, or
was
were you
that
at
Jeffrey Epstein, or who was
What
that?
were you talking? Wow. Wow.
So here, but anyway, so now I understand or can appreciate more this monumental task of hiring over 8,000 people in 5 months. That's incredible.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was
So that's
nuts.
such a system. But so here, my question really relates back to what you were talking about at the beginning here, when you're going through, your background, the introduction, and things like that. And you'd mentioned something that really stuck out in my head, and this was, the fact that your parents raised you and your siblings to be entrepreneurs. I have a 13-year-old daughter. I'd love to do that with my daughter. What does that look like? What does raising a child to be an entrepreneur look like? And what resources would you recommend?
That's a great question.
That I and other people who are interested in doing that look at. One of the things that Aaron and I actually talked about on Sunday was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So that's one of the things that I'd like to
You know,
engage
I
my daughter
would,
with.
so take a look at the talk on the main TED website. I'm sure you're familiar with TED. If you go to the TED.com website and either look up my name or look up Raising Entrepreneurial Kids or Raising Kids as Entrepreneurs, I can't remember the title. The funny thing is, and the fact that you're a lawyer, this is awesome because I did my undergraduate degree in law, so I did it as a joke. The original title was Raising Kids as Entrepreneurs ... instead of lawyers. And TED edited out the instead of lawyers part. I'm like, you. I just like, and the reason I did it, when I was growing up as a kid, I had all of the traits to be a successful entrepreneur. I was good in debate. I was good in public speaking. I was a strong leader. I was goal oriented. I could think on my feet. I could problem solve. I could read people well. Like I had some really good skills of an entrepreneur. But back when I was growing up and around the same age you were as well, it sounds like, being an entrepreneur wasn't cool, right? We were vilified back then. Being an entrepreneur only started to get cool around 1989 and 1999, or 1998 and 99 when the rise of the dot-com started. But prior to that, entrepreneurs were evil. We were greedy. We were capitalists. We were shut down in the school system. So now it's like, yeah, let's raise our kids to be entrepreneurs. That's all cool. But back then, man, it wasn't cool. So what my dad did was he got us to get good at public speaking, to get good at thinking on our feet. He encouraged us to do any little business venture, even if it was a one-day venture or a 6-day venture. And one of my biggest pet peeves recently in the last couple of decades as I've been raising my kids who are now 17 and 19, is it drives me bonkers when I see that 7-year-old kid out at the end of their driveway running a lemonade stand and their mom or dad are standing 3 feet behind them waving at cars to bring cars over. It's like, if you want to run your own lemonade stand, run a lemonade stand. But your kid isn't learning anything when you're there setting up the stand and doing the marketing and making the flyers all cool. Let your kid make their own darn flyer. Let your kid figure it out. And then when the kid comes in after a half an hour and goes, I'm not selling anything, coach them, talk to them about what's going well. And are you waving card? No, go out and try it again then. And send them back out for 15 more minutes, because kids will learn from the trial and error and the failure and the success and the coaching way more than by mom or dad making every darn part of their business. Let your kids build their own website. Let them go on YouTube and figure stuff out. They're going to learn more from that. But I actually talked about 16 different business ventures that I had by the time I was 18 years old. I talked about all of them on my TED Talk. So they'll give you some good ideas. Some of them are very dated. We would never let our kids go door to door, but I think we should, because all neighborhoods are pretty safe.
On a side note, Cameron, I used to make my children run out in the street and physically try to stop cars to buy lemonade. So I was much more proactive.
Now, Cameron, I have audio here. This is audio of my father, who's now deceased. So he was teaching me entrepreneurship. Let me just cue it up here. This is, that's a commercial that shouldn't be playing. Let me just say, I got the audio clip here. It's very sensitive material. Okay. What my dad did is he wanted me to learn how to become an entrepreneur. So he took me out to the, Aaron, I'll put it on the big screen so you can see it. Cameron can just hear what appears to be the edge of like Siberia. Now, again, I'm there. I'm wearing basketball shorts. I've got a short sleeve shirt on, and he says, "Make a lemonade stand and find a way to make it home." And I was like 4 years old. Make a lemonade stand, find a way to get home. And when we rejoined, when I re-met him at the age of, I want to say 17, I was quite an entrepreneur. I mean, it was very resourceful.
That was in Siberia that he had you do that.
Yeah, he took me out there.
And when he said, make your way home, did that mean come back to Minnesota
or
Tulsa
when
or
you're
something?
4, you struggle to remember things. And he said, listen, I want you to remember this for the rest of your life. Siberia is where you are if you make it home. No, that didn't happen. But again, there's a balance there about teaching kids resourcefulness. And I think right now we're raising kids. We're saying wear a helmet, wear a double helmet, wear 14 masks, wear a helmet, cover yourself in Lysol, don't eat gluten, look both ways, never cross the street unless 17 adults are with you. We're kind of there as a culture right now. And I do think people need to teach the resourcefulness. I could not agree more with what Cameron said. Now, Cameron, I want to respect your time. Yeah, go for it.
Kids also learn by, there's 4 styles of learning. There's the abstract conceptualization. So that's the talking about the concept of whatever their business is going to be. Then there's the active experimentation. That's the role play, right? So role play selling the lemonade, role play handling the objection with the customer. They learn from doing that. Then there's the concrete experience. That's the actually doing. And they can't be actually learning by doing if mom or dad are with them. And then afterwards is the reflective observation. So what went well? What didn't go well? What could you have done differently? And then you cycle back through that. And if kids can go through those 4 styles on every different business they have, if it's a 1-day business or a 1-week business or a 1-month business, it's great. But they'll learn from each of the stages if we help take them through those cycles. So that's how you grow a 13-year-old in my mind.
Thank you.
Now, folks, we've covered what makes Elon Musk successful, what makes Kimball Musk successful. We've talked about employee engagement and why that drives growth. We've covered a lot, but you've got the microphone, Cameron. It's kind of your opportunity to share what you want to share before you drop the mic. What do you want to share with the Thrive Nation?
None of this actually matters. This is just what we do to make money. We're all going to die. We're all just walking each other home. And if we don't have fun along the way, we're missing the point.
That's good.
Because this is just, and I think so often we take ourselves so seriously in everything we do and drive. But at the end of the day, like, no matter what we build, we're going to die. No matter what we build, it's going to collapse. Like, have some fun along the way, and it makes the whole journey worthwhile.
Where'd that come from? Did that come from Elon Musk, or did you pick that up along the way?
I think it came when I noticed my mom passed away 19 years ago, and I was like, what's the point? Like, she was 60 years old and had lived healthy and worked for the Cancer Society and didn't eat salt and never drank, didn't smoke, and she died. And I'm like, this makes no sense. And it was, it just kind of nailed that in the coffin, I guess, for me, was everything I do from here on out is bonus time.
I help businesses grow. That's what I do. And I get asked a lot, and I hope this isn't demotivational for people out there, but I talked to a guy the other day who really wants to become a client, and we only take on 160 clients. And he was really stuck on, why will you not take on another client? What is your deal? And I was like, at the end of the day, what I do is I help people build sandcastles by the ocean's edge. And as fascinating as it is to build beautiful sandcastles that people marvel at, there's other things I want to do with my life. And I'm really excited about helping you, but if I took on, 5,000 clients, for me, because of how I built my workflow, I kind of build all the blueprints for all the clients, I would be living a personal hell. And I'm just not wanting to do that. And I think it's so important for everybody out there to ask yourself, what is it that matters to you? What are your goals? Why did God put you here? And the business should just be a vehicle to help you get to where you want to go. It shouldn't be the end-all thing. And I just think that's so important to have some fun along the way. Cameron, one more time, what's your website for people that want to look you up?
Yeah, CameronHerold.com is my main website, and then the COOalliance.com for any companies doing at least $5 million or greater.
Now, this is final rapid-fire round here. This is bonus round. This is uncharted territory. You can hang up at any time. It's going to be about 90 seconds, and we'll see what happens here. This usually does not go well, but we'll see if we can make it happen. You're from Canada. Would you be willing to trade Justin Bieber for another American musician, or are you pretty loyal to the Bieber?
I couldn't care less about the Bieber. I think he's growing up a little bit, but he was a bit of a douche when he was younger.
I'll take that as you'll keep Bieber. Second, Canadians. We all know that Canadians spend 75 to 80% of their waking hours drinking Molson Ice. Do you agree with that statement, or are you wrong?
Guinness.
Guinness. Oh, wow. Guinness. Okay, I've been educated. Okay, hockey.
Have you heard the story? Have you heard the story about the president of Molson's, the president of Budweiser, and the president of Guinness? They all go out for dinner, and the president of Molson's orders a Molson's, president of Guinness or Budweiser orders a Bud, president of Guinness orders a Diet Coke. And 2 other guys looked at him and said, "You're ordering a Diet Coke?" He's like, "Well, you're not drinking beer. I didn't think I should."
Oh, that's good.
Okay, final couple of questions here, because I want to really dive deep into the Canadian stereotypes there. Mounties. We all know that there's Mounties everywhere up there in Canada. A lot of Mounties this time of year. We all know that hockey is the only sport that you allow your kids to play up there. What are your thoughts on Mounties and hockey?
Well, we also chase beaver, which is our national animal.
What's a Mountie? Is that a mounted police officer?
What's a Mounties? The Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're the police in the red jackets chasing people on horses.
What percentage, final question about Canada that our listeners want to know. This isn't stuff I want to know. This is our listeners. They put this on me. What percentage of the GDP of the gross domestic product is generated by Drake? Is it 90% or all of it?
I don't know. I don't know, but I went and saw Drake with my kid, and I didn't know any of his songs. And I was standing there kind of dancing away going, I don't know what you're singing, but you got this whole place going.
All right. Hey, thank you so much for being here. You're a great Canadian, and if you ever want to make yourself available via trade to become an American, we're open to it. We're open.
Thanks very much. I appreciate it.
Hey.
I'm actually I'm U.S. resident according to the government, so I'm actually in Arizona right now talking to you.
Okay.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Well, I hope you have a great day. We plan on releasing this show on the it's the 14th, Valentine's Day. Is that the idea?
Yep.
So for people listening to this, they're going to be listening to this on Valentine's Day. So with much love, we appreciate you for being here.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate all the time.
Take care,
Thanks,
brother.
Cameron.
Bye.
Bye.
Andrew, you know this. As a consultant, we work with some really great people.
Yes,
and,
we
and
do.
the process is you have people that think they want to be a client. In fact, Aaron Antis, you run Oklahoma's largest home building company, and many people that you know have marveled at the growth of Shaw Homes.
Yes.
And they say, hey, what are you guys doing to grow? And many times you have recommended us to your friends and clients.
Many times.
And what happens is the next step is we then do an initial phone consultation to figure out whether we're the right fit for the client and whether the client is the right fit for us.
Yep.
And the fork in the road, Andrew, is we have to determine, is the client a diligent doer or a happy hoper?
True.
Andrew, could you briefly explain what the difference between and I'm not asking you to quote the document we use in the office, but
Right.
what's the difference between a diligent doer and a happy hoper?
So a happy hoper doesn't know their goals, doesn't have a set plan or a path or really any idea what they're doing. Not really.
They just hope it'll get
action
better.
Taker. Right. They just
It
kind of
being
hope.
whatever.
Right.
Right.
And a diligent doer is one that actually takes the advice of someone who's been there, takes action, and actually does what they need to do to get where they want to go.
Well, on today's show, we are interviewing a diligent doer who's moved from surviving to thriving. And now I think he's going to be buying every member of the Thrive Nation a lunch or something. He'll be buying Christmas gifts to
Easies.
celebrate his appreciation for the Thrive Nation. We're very excited because it is now time for yet another edition of
Wins of the Week!
Doing the bull dance, feeling the flow.
Oh, yes. Now, Thrive Nation, listen to this. Thrive Nation. Our listener today, our guest, is an incredible American.
Holy cow!
He's a hardworking guy, and I don't mean this as a backhanded compliment. A lot of times, Aaron, you could say, with all due respect,
Yeah.
and then anything, and you could say anything.
Anything goes after
But I
that.
mean it. With all due respect, today's guest, Tyler Hallblade, is a very normal dude. It's not like we have found the only man in the world who speaks 18 languages and we taught him to become successful as a linguist. I mean, he's a very normal dude. He's like me. He's like you. He's like James. He's like Aaron. He's a very relatable guy. And I think a lot of people say, I can't be successful because I'm not as good as Tyler Hallblade. Tyler Hallblade, welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you doing?
Brother, I'm excited to have you on the show. Tell the listeners, where were you at a couple years ago and where are you at now? Because your success is epic.
3 years ago, we started selling our product nationwide, and we lost $100,000 our first year. And now we are in Canada, most 50 states, and we're killing it.
Tell us, what's the name of your company?
Primo Trailer Manufacturing.
PrimoTrailerManufacturing.com, or what's the web address?
PrimoTrailer.com.
PrimoTrailer.com. And how did you first hear about us? Did you were you referred to us by a guy named Sneaks? How did you hear about us?
No, I actually was going on a long vacation overseas, and you guys came up on iTunes. So that's 3 years ago.
Since that, over those past 36 months, how much have you grown as a percentage?
Oh, man. This last few months or the last few years?
Let's say the last few years. I mean, your annual sales, what kind of growth have you seen year over year?
We grew 400% our first year, 300% last year, and this year we're on pace for another 200 to 300%.
And by the way, folks, as the number gets bigger, it becomes harder to grow at that same percentage. And I just could not be more excited about the growth of your company, PrimoTrailer.com. And I'm not the kind of guy, Aaron, I'm not the kind of person who's going to sit there and badger our listeners and say, oh, you should only be buying your trailers from today's guest. I'm not going to do that.
Right.
Some have suggested I should say that. But I'm not going to say that. But no, seriously, I mean, what kind of listeners out there could buy your stuff there? What kind of stuff do you sell there at primotrailer.com, Tyler?
So we sell aluminum utility trailers, so anywhere from a 5x8 up to a 20-foot car hauler.
And, okay, so how did you start the company?
So I actually started this way back long ago when I was in high school. I was a pre-engineering student. Decided to design a trailer for my dad. Put it on the brakes, and then a few years later he came and said, hey, why don't you make me some of those? And I was like, okay. And learned how to weld, and then kind of just slowly scaled, selling them out of my backyard for 4 years, and then finally decided to go nationwide and build a full-scale manufacturing facility.
Now, I don't know if this is helpful for any listeners out there, but if you are listening right now and you go to thrivetimeshow.com, and you click on the testimonials button, you're going to see that our average client last year grew by 104%. However, I want to make sure we get this idea. It's harder to, again, grow at a big rate the larger you get. I mean, Aaron Antis, before you even called us, before you even reached out to us, you were doing $24 million a year of gross revenue.
Yeah.
Besides the math aspect of it, what makes it difficult? Because now you're doing 150. How much sales did you do this past year?
Yeah, pretty close to 150 million.
So ShawHomes.com, you grew from $24 million to $150 million per year of revenue. Why is it harder to grow? From 24 million to 150? What kind of problems do people typically run into as the company gets bigger?
Well, you run into having to hire a lot more people.
Yep.
Train a lot more people.
Yep.
And everybody thinks that they're a specialist at everything they do. I can imagine for, what we're talking about with trailers, it would be like, well, you don't understand how complicated it is to make a trailer. This is like the most complicated thing ever. And we're going to need to hire extreme specialists, and everybody's going to have to be an expert. And then, you start to run into more and more complexity of how to scale something. So, we used to customize things, and, right now, I'm sure you get those phone calls from time to time. Can you build me a custom trailer? I've got a design I'm thinking of that I want to do. And
I want one in the shape of Donald Trump's face.
Exactly. And when they call us with those questions on homes, it's like, we have pre-designed options. We have more than anybody else, but I'm not going outside of that. So you have
a lot, right? You have like 68?
Yeah, we have 68 different floor plans. But when somebody calls me and says, I've got an idea on a new floor plan.
So if you're out there listening right now and you're going, man, I'm starting to get stuck. I'm running into where people are asking for complex nuances. I'm having a hard time scaling. Everyone wants to become a specialist. You got two options. Either one, you just say, yep, that's where we're at. We're stuck. Okay. Or two, you say, you know what, I'm going to reach out to somebody that knows how to scale a company. Now, if you do reach out to the Thrive Time Show, to myself, just understand I've been coaching clients since 2006, and I can tell you this. I am a great coach or a bad coach based upon the effort of the client. And some people say, man, you were a great coach. You guys have helped Shaw Homes so much. That's great. Some people say, you, my friend, are a bad coach. I said, well, why am I a bad coach? I said, well, your friend, my friend, he calls you to schedule to become a client, and you won't even let him become a client because you're a bad coach. Because you say he's not a good fit. So Andrew, but let's talk about what kind of things makes Tyler a great client.
Yeah.
And what kind of things have you implemented? Just fire through. What kind of stuff have you guys been able to do together?
Well, Tyler is definitely a diligent doer. One of the big things that we've implemented is we spent a lot of time on it, but it's the Dream 100. So we developed a script. We worked on it, and we've implemented it. And because of that, he's been able to, book a lot of new trailer dealerships.
Are you saying, Tyler, that you pick up the phone and call people you do not know and inform them about your incredible company, primotrailer.com?
We do a lot.
How many calls do you guys typically make in a day or a week?
Each sales guy makes 75 to 100 per day. I was doing about 200 back when it was just me. But now that I have a sales team, I got a bunch of people doing about that.
And do you record your calls for quality assurance? Do you have a script? What kind of details do you have there?
Yes, we record everything. We listen to everything. And we have a script that is very strictly followed for the first 10 calls.
Go ahead and just keep telling me more about it. But I'll cry after when we get off air. I'll cry. What other things are you doing? Because I know we've updated the website. Our team does the website. We maintain the website. And again, I've been doing this since 2006, and I can tell you, you build someone a great website. It's a lot like having an engine, but unless you supply, some fuel to the engine, it's just a beautiful engine that just sits there. Andrew, what other things has our incredible client here, Tyler, done to enhance his online reputation, to rank higher in Google? I mean, there's just so much. I could just listen to this. I want to just listen to this interview all week.
Yeah, so Tyler, we've implemented a Google canonically compliant website. So Google likes the website, and it's also mobile compliant. So it looks good on phone. It works well on the phone as well. But then also, Tyler's been getting Google reviews, and then on top of that, we've been cranking out a ton of content. So now, if you search aluminum trailer manufacturer on Google, he's now pulling up nationwide, which has been resulting in a lot of phone calls from either dealerships looking for an aluminum trailer manufacturer or people actually looking to buy an aluminum trailer.
It's so good.
It's a lot of good stuff.
Tyler, what would you say for somebody out there who's contemplating reaching out to our team? You know friends, family. What kind of person is a good fit for the coaching program? Because we know it requires all of our clients. We hop on a weekly 1-hour call. But then after that 1-hour call, I mean, you have homework to do. Our team has homework to do. Yeah, you can call myself or Andrew if you have questions, but who's a good fit for our program and who is not a good fit?
Yeah, the people who are a good fit are people who are willing to do more work, not less. That was probably the big shocker when I first started, is that it became a lot more work. I was thinking, maybe this will help me do less. But it's changed my focus so that my time is more impactful. So people who are willing to put more time in, and people who are willing to listen and obviously work the program that is proven. If you're stubborn in your own ways and want to do things your own way, you're not going to get anywhere with it.
I feel like our program is simple to implement if that's what you're trying to do. If you're trying to, I feel like people want it to be complicated and have like a haiku mixed inside an allegory with like a poem with like a TED Talks wrapped around a syllabus. I think people want that, Aaron. I think people want complication.
I think your program is simple, but it is not easy because it requires hard work. And I think people want it to be I think people want it to be easy and complicated.
Tyler, are you married?
I am.
I want to talk about how to make your marriage work for 20 consecutive years. And I know you're not asking for feedback. This isn't for you, Tyler. This is for me. This isn't for Aaron. This is for me because it's simple. It's not complicated.
I'm past 20 years.
How long have you been married?
I have been married. This will be my 24th year.
Well, you need to take notes. I'm just kidding. No, but this is important for everybody out there. Listen, this is important. This is very important crap. All right? What you have to do if you want to stay, and we say, why are you giving me marriage tips? Because it's not that complicated, but it requires hard work.
Yeah.
So, this is what I do every week. I'm giving everybody out there, I'm giving you feedback, okay? If you're not yet married, this is what we'll start early. 1, don't marry somebody unless you share the same values. Just don't marry somebody with different values. That's going to get crazy. But assuming you are married to someone with the same values, understand that if you are a man out there and you want to stay happily married, what you do is every week, you sick freak, you sit down and you ask her the question. Every week, you sick freak, you say, what could I do better? And you better have a pen. You better have a notepad. You better be able to write until you develop arthritis, because there's going to be something on that list that you need to improve. I mean this. This is super sincere. You do this every week. You say, what can I do better? And then when your wife points out things, in my case, this is a recent fresh wound. It's true. It's, I wish you would have introduced me to this person. And I've
heard this story before, Clay.
This is a recurring theme. I get better. And it's about 90 days. I'm on the flow. I'm in a good flow. No, this is real. This is real. My wife, if she were here, she would agree. And I say, well, what can I do better? She says, it would be nice when we had that big-time guest or that big-time person that came by and visited in the studio, or somebody at the office, or someone at church, or somebody. I wish you would have introduced me. And then I'll go. But part of me wants to say, are you kidding me? Every time, because part of me wants to be crazy. Right? I mean, part of me wants to recount all of the people that I have appropriately introduced her to. Part of me wants to be defensive.
Yeah.
Part of me wants to feel offended. The whole thing. And then I go, okay. What else could I do? Almost like in disbelief, she goes, okay. Really? Because it's like shock. Like, what?
Yeah, you're asking for
And
feedback.
I go, what else could I do? And she says, I think you could seem more interested when we went out to Los Cabos. And I said, what about Los Cabos what did I do there that would it all indicate that I wasn't interested? And she says, you didn't say a word.
The whole time we were at dinner?
I'm like, I know there were definitely words. She said, probably not, but maybe you can ask the kids. So I asked the kids. Kids, come here. Did I not say anything at Los Cabos? I said, well, Dad, you really don't say a lot when we go out to dinner. And I'm going, okay. And then I get you're tapping your foot. You're wanting to go. You kept saying, when's the food coming out? And I'm going, that's true. So I write it down, and then I do a better job. But there's that accountability. There's that coming back to center. There's asking that question. And I find for me about once a week is what I need. And I do a really good job. We've been married 20 years. My wife would tell you I do a good job. There's things I could do better. But I think if we all don't have that accountability and that coachability and that talking to someone who you respect to get their feedback on something, I mean, I think we can become crazy people. And I would just like to get your take on that, Tyler. I mean, do you think with a business coaching relationship that's helpful to have someone to throw ideas, bounce them off of, but also have somebody that you can kind of almost be accountable to, where you can say, I'm going to get this done, and then you actually do it? Does that help at all? Does that play into the success or not so much?
Yeah, that definitely plays into success. It's much easier when somebody is there to remind you. So even if you do forget things or something gets pushed down the list, there's somebody there to say, hey, that's actually important, and here's why, and make sure that you stay on your roadmap to success.
Andrew, I know that Tyler right now, even as we're on the phone right now, he's selling another trailer to somebody else.
Yeah, he is.
I don't want to stand in the way of sales. What else have you and Tyler accomplished together? Because the outbound sales calls, recording the calls, building the scripts, executing the Dream 100 system, that's powerful. Have you guys done the group interview? Have you gone into the group interview process? What other territory have you guys?
We have, yeah.
What other progress have you made together?
Yeah, I mean, group interview is a big one. Checklist is another big one. Quality control, making sure that the trailers are put together correctly.
Let's go with checklists. I feel like checklists can save somebody's life. They save all the refunds. They save quality issues. What role have checklists, has implementing checklists made in your business?
Oh, so many. We used to have to, every shipment that we sent out, we had missing parts on, every single one. And I came to Andrew and I was like, hey, this is an issue. What do we need to do? So he's like, checklist. I was like, okay. So we just started making checklists for everything. And now things aren't getting mixed. It's saving me a ton of money. Because every time something is missed, it costs me $500. So that starts to add up when we're sending out a lot of product.
You should try home building.
So it's been, checklists have been really, really helpful in not only saving us money, but the overall end user's experience with our product has gotten dramatically better.
Now, in terms of what you pay us, for people out there that don't know, we charge clients a flat $1,700 a month, 1700. And I want to explain this to the listeners. This is crazy. After I built my first company, djconnection.com, people would reach out to me and say, could you help me grow my business? And I would say, sure. And a lot of people don't know this. Corey Minter knows this. Corey Minter knows this story very well because he lived it. Corey Minter, the founder of trinityemployment.com. I would make the path just like I do now. I would meet with the client just like I do now. And then but this is stuff I used to do. I actually would personally shoot your videos for you. And it was like a business ninja. I would shoot the videos, edit the videos, meet with the photographer, lead the photographer. I did all that hands-on, and that's why it used to be so much more money because it was me, and I could handle 15 clients, and I would do all that work. I mean, I would just be obsessing on it. I still get in the trenches a little bit. I did a radio commercial this weekend for a client, and I edited a book for a client, but it used to be super expensive. I mean, it would be $5,000 and $6,000 a month, and clients were happy to pay it, but it was a lot of that. Now it's $1,700 a month, and at the end of the day, Tyler, when you hire an employee out there and you pay him, what's minimum wage for you out there, by the way? What's minimum wage?
$12.
So if you paid somebody $12 an hour, 12 an hour times 40 hours a week times 4.3 hours a month, 4.3 weeks per month. So $12 an hour, 40 hours a week times 4.3 weeks per month. Before taxes, it would be $2,064. You throw in taxes, I mean, you're now probably $2,400 at this point. You factor in office space, a phone line, all that. I mean, a cost of an employee, even a minimum wage employee, is going to put you up around $2,500 a month. Can you talk about the cost of what you pay versus the growth you've seen, just so people can kind of hear that comparison from you?
Yeah, it's really not that much for how much we've grown. $1,700 a month it's not a small amount of money, but it's not, I mean, it's half of what each of one of my welders back there cost. And the value that I get from coaching has been far greater than any single employee.
Tyler, I appreciate you out there. I'll give you the final word for the Thrive Nation out there. There's somebody out there listening right now with millions of listeners all over the country. Somebody's probably traveling to Europe on an extended vacation right now. They ran into the podcast for the first time. Their first name is probably Tyler. They sell trailers. What advice would you have for them?
I would tell them to go and look into it more, at least contact you and see if you're going to be the right fit for them. It could change their life, their business, like it did mine. And it's a decision that I do not believe anybody would look back on and say that was the wrong decision for me.
Did you come to the conference? Have you been to a conference?
I have, yes.
Did you ever leave, or did you get so enthralled in the culture you just stayed? Are you at
right
the office now?
I wish I was, but no, I did leave. But it was the conference. I came to the conference not as a client. I came because I was skeptical before I hired you guys even. So I came to the conference because I wanted to see what it was all about, and I was sold the first day.
Well, I'll tell you what, folks, whether you want to get out to a conference or you want to schedule a 13-point assessment, you too could be the next Tyler Hallblade. If you're looking to buy a trailer, and I know you are, go to primotrailer.com, primotrailer.com. Check it out. Tyler does a great job. He's a great American. Tyler, thank you for joining us on today's edition of the Thrive Time Show.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Take care, brother. Bye. All right, Aaron Antis, now on our final portion of today's show, we're interviewing your doctor, or actually the man who's married to your doctor, Dr. Mark Sherwood. He's a beautiful American, and I tell you what, Aaron, I'm excited about today's show because it's always profound whenever we're above the ground. Would you agree?
I like being above ground better than below.
And now, without any further ado, Dr. Mark Sherwood, welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, and I'm glad to be above the ground too, man. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to start asking you some rude and some tough questions. First, though, before I ask you the rude and tough questions, some of our listeners want to know who in the world you are. Give us a little look into your background there, Dr. Sherwood, so people know what they're dealing with.
So my background's very unique. I started off, obviously, as a professional athlete years ago and then transitioned to life as a police officer for 2.5 decades, 10 years of that on the SWAT team, and in my last perhaps 10 years there, I was in charge of a wellness program, and I saw a lot of people, my colleagues, die. And it broke my heart, and I wanted to find out why people are sort of not living as long and as well as they should. So that led me on a quest to go back to school, obtain my naturopathic doctorate degree, and now my wife and I run a very large, really a worldwide wellness-based practice based out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. We treat people all around the world, and it's a pleasure to get people well, see their sick span decrease and their health span increase. So that's a little short summation right there.
Now, you said you were a professional athlete. Were you lost into the deep labyrinth of professional curling, or what sport did you play?
No, I was a professional baseball player. I had a dream one time to become a Major League Baseball star. I never quite made it that far, but I did play professionally in Australia and did have the fortunate occurrence to be Rookie of the Year, believe it or not. Little known fact there about me.
Really? In Australia?
Sure enough.
How pervasive, how I guess invasive, how dangerous were the kangaroos on the field?
You know, I never saw a kangaroo in the field, but I almost hit one in a car. True story.
You almost hit a kangaroo with a car, and I've heard this, and I cannot verify this. I would not dare go on the show and claim this to be true. But I've heard rumors and speculation that some of these kangaroo are north of 4 feet tall.
They are much north of 4 feet tall, and when they fight somebody, they actually grab them with their upper hands or claws, if you will. They stand on their tail, and those big feet with big claws, they stand up on their tail, and they claw you, and they will rip your guts right out.
And they're 3 to 8 feet tall, is my understanding. Is that? I mean, did you ever see one that was more than 3 feet tall?
Oh yeah, there's multiple different breeds of those things, I guess you would say. And there's some short ones, little bitty ones, and there's some gigantic ones that you can look eye to eye with. And when they stand on their tail, of course, they're going to be 7, 8 feet tall.
Okay, final question for you before I paint you into a corner with tough questions is what is your website so people can learn more about you, look you up, and see if they can trust you?
Super easy. Go to Sherwood.tv.
And Aaron Antis, how long have you known Dr. Sherwood?
I guess it's about 5 years.
How did you guys meet? Was it a back alley? Was it a?
Actually, we met through Chuck Ramsey.
Okay.
I met his wife, Dr. Michelle, and this was. It might have been more like 6 or 7 years ago, but anyways, if you know Chuck Ramsey, he's like the healthiest person ever for his age. And I said, how'd you get so healthy and look so good at that age? I want to be like that. He said, let me introduce you to Dr. Michelle. And so that was kind of how it started. And then, of course, they come as a package deal. So that's how you get to meet them. And then also when he was describing the kangaroo here and the claws and the kicking feet, I was thinking that's an awful lot like my wife, Clay. That's how she fights. She gets her claws into you and then just rears back on the tail and just starts kicking.
How to become healthy, wealthy, and wise. On this show, we teach people over and over and over, specifically the moves that they need to use to earn time freedom and financial freedom. However, Dr. Sherwood, let's say that you had somebody right now in front of you, and they said 120 days from now, I want to lose, between now and the next 120 days, I want to lose 40 pounds. 40 pounds. Maybe that's ambitious. Maybe 20 pounds. I don't know. But somebody's in front of you right now. They come into your office. They visit your website, fmidr.com. They show up at your office, and they're a little bit overweight, and they're not feeling the best. They walk into your office off of 60th and Sheridan in Tulsa, or they give you a call. Is it possible for somebody to make a pretty significant improvement to their health in 120 days?
Yeah, it really is, Clay and Aaron. Certainly, we expect it 100% of the time. To that end, we have a 120-day, what we call a lifestyle transformation plan that just gets people started down the pathway. And if a person does have excess fat tissue, specifically this excess visceral or belly fat tissue, that's dangerous, and no one needs to have that. So it's a relative amount as far as pound loss, but as far as transition from where you are, no matter where a person is, if they want to be better in 120 days or 4 months, let's say, absolutely, with 100% certainty they can, because we're going to take you to work from where you are, and we're going to lead you on the pathway where we've been and teach you how to get to where you perhaps never thought you could be.
So let's walk people through maybe what those 120 days would look like. I hate to jump ahead here, but step one, you want to run 14 hours per day. 14? No, seriously. What are the steps if we go down this 120 days?
I was actually wondering, I'm sitting here studying currently on Google
while running
the kangaroo and wallaby diet, and it says here that I have to have a diet of alfalfa hay and pellets formulated from macropods. Is that part of the diet that we have to do?
Macropods.
Well, thank God it's not, but if we did live in Australia, actually wallaby meat and kangaroo meat is very edible and very tasty. Actually, kangaroo meat's much like venison, so there you go. But in the plan, no kidding, where a person needs to start, and this is really key. There's basically 5 areas that one would start in, and everybody needs to start here. we've got to get a personalized nutrition program going that includes a clear-cut description, not a diet, but a clear-cut description on what to eat. I mean, people are questioning all the time, and they have to have a guide, so we give them a guide. We're also going to teach them about detoxification within that guide, because when you start losing fat tissue, a little or a lot, the fat holds the toxins, and the toxins are released in mass. So the second area is very important and key to understand. You have to have the proper nutrients on board, and you can't depend on food to do that. So we're going to provide those for you through nutraceuticals to augment what your body doesn't get. And we've tested thousands of people across this world. We basically know what most people are deficient in, so we're going to replace those so your systems of detox can run better. We're going to personally give you coaching, if you will, on nutrition, on lifestyle, and on movement. We're going to get you a very, very good functionally oriented medicine blood panel, very comprehensive. We're going to tell you what to work on, and we're going to check in with you monthly so you can get improvements. So we're going to set those goals for you. You're going to have a clear several measurables there, and we're just going to walk in a pathway that we've all been down, and you will get results, and they're going to be great.
Now, do you have before and after photos, or do you have any testimonials that people can look at, or where can people go if they want to verify that you are not insane?
Well, I don't know where they go to see if I'm not insane. That's one question. But the idea of it, though, honestly, on our website, the Sherwood.tv will link to our clinic website. And in both of those websites, there's a multitude of video testimonials from people that have been in horrible situations, and now they're not. And we've seen them get off medications. We've seen the disease processes reduced. And to put it bluntly, there are probably these following disease processes that they need to go down in frequency, if not go away. And that would be type 2 diabetes, heart disease, cancers, autoimmune, dementia, this idea of maybe osteoporosis, et cetera. That needs to go away. We don't need to have these processes in our lives on a continual basis anymore. And most of these things, among others, are driven by poor lifestyle choices, and people just need a plan. And that's what we do. If somebody wants a plan, we're going to help them get a plan. It's going to lead them on a pathway where they need to go.
Now, you mentioned there's 5 practical moves that people can use to dramatically improve their health within 120 days. Can you share with us those 5 practical moves?
Yep. Proper nutrition, proper supplementation, proper sleep, proper movement, and proper stress management. And the key point is that last one. If you knew what to do and you're not worried about what to do, you're not worried about your health, and you can work, you can make your money, you can get that financial freedom that we all try so hard to do, you take that stress piece completely out, and that sort of self-corrects, if you will, when you get the previous 4 fixed.
So, again, you said proper nutrition, proper supplementation. What was the other proper what?
Sleep management.
Okay.
Got to do that.
Yep, we'll skip that one.
Movement's important. And notice I didn't say exercise. Movement. We need to move more, sit less.
Okay.
And the last one is proper stress management.
Okay. So I'm going to go through these rapid fire, and then we're going to let Aaron Antis and James, the attorney, begin to pelt you with questions that the Thrive Nation wants to know. So proper nutrition. Help the listeners out there right now. If a listener is listening right now and they say, listen, all I want to know is what can I eat every day? What can I not eat? Give the listeners the perfect meal. The perfect meal. Someone says, I want the perfect meal. What's the perfect meal?
The perfect meal, look at your plate and eat like the rainbow, multiple colors. So they're talking about multiple colored fruits and vegetables. Minimize the browns and whites. I mean, if you kind of think like that, that's super easy. So if you can eat fruits and vegetables, eat good selected proteins and fats, and we teach you what that is, but you've got to avoid the things that get us in trouble, all of the white things like the white potato. You want to cut down the white rice, certainly white bread. Get that out of the way. Eventually get all the grains out of the way, but we transition you through that. That's how you structure a meal, and that's how you're going to get good benefit from it as opposed to liability.
So eat fruits, vegetables, lean meat. Is there a certain kind of meat you say, don't eat that meat, buddy, eat this kind of meat?
I would be cautious of the conventionally produced beef, because conventionally produced beef is in these confined animal feeding operations, well, look, let's face it, what they're fed makes them fat fast, and what we sell them by weight. So we're idiots if we think that, by eating those things that we are fed things to make them fat fast, it won't do it to us too. So, if you can get a free range, grass-fed animal, that's fine. But some of the processed animals, they're not really fit for human consumption, in my opinion.
Now, folks, I just want everyone to know this. I have been looking at some of these images of kangaroos, and what once I considered to be a nice animal is now something I consider to be a terrifying beast. I went from thinking, oh, this is a nice kangaroo to these are terrifying.
I told you that.
These are, I guess if I was out in the wild and I saw a kangaroo, my natural instinct would be, oh, let's go pet the guy. No. These are horrifying beasts.
I had that revelation about the hippopotamus. I thought that they were these cute little animals that Disney portrayed as friendly, and then they attack people.
Unbelievable. So, folks, a pro tip. I know we're giving you 5 practical moves you can use to dramatically improve your health in 120 days, but I'll tell you this. Bonus move. Do not pet a wild kangaroo. That's just a bonus move. Now we move on here to move number 2, proper supplementation. What kind of proper supplementation should we be taking? What's something out there everybody should be taking? Everybody.
So when you look at that, everybody should be taking the following things, and this is real simple to really understand. You got to be taking vitamin D, and it's got to be up there. I mean, clearly the COVID thing has confirmed that. You got to be taking magnesium. You got to get your vitamin Bs up, because these guys run the systems of creating ATP, which is energy. And you have to get omega-3s to a sufficient level, because those help us with brain, heart, and cell membrane health. And even inflammation processes as well. So those 4 things I would think you would call the core 4.
The core 4, okay. And then, so again, that was proper supplementation. Take the vitamin D. Take the magnesium. Take the vitamin B, as in boy. Take omega-3 vitamins. 3, proper sleep. How many hours a night should we be sleeping? How many hours?
Somewhere between 7 and 8 hours to complete the 4 necessary circadian rhythm cycles to complete all of our rest, regeneration, and rejuvenation processes during the night.
I got to tell listeners out there, last night, a little secret for you. Last night, the Super Bowl was on. So I probably slept 15 hours yesterday.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Because I'm like, I am not watching those disrespectful, kneeling, non-flag respecting, overpaid. I'm not going to do it. So so I was able to hear through other people that Tom Brady won again, which is great for Tom Brady. But I went to bed. I was like, you know what? So my wife was doing some cheerleading stuff, and I'm like, if the Super Bowl starts, there's the pregame about 5. If I time it right, if I go to bed at 5, and then I sleep until 3, I could really pack in some sleep. So I slept solid from like 5 to like 9, and I picked my son up from a Super Bowl party, came back, went right back to bed, probably at 10 again. So I had probably 5 to 9, said 5 hours, and then I slept from then. I got another 7. I really put on some serious sleep last night. I woke up this morning at 3. I normally wake up at 3 anyway, but I'm going, man, this is impressive what I've done here. I should write a book about this. I really put a lot. I slept like a polar bear, and I have one of these abilities to sleep, Dr. Mark, where if I choose to sleep, I can sleep at any time, and there's no end to it. Like, I don't ever feel fully refreshed or not refreshed. I could just keep going. James, can you do that? Can you sleep like a polar bear? If you want to, can you just do that?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting how I can do that.
Can you do that, Aaron, or you can't?
I can. I'm a rhythm person. Like, I'm an every single day, 8 hours.
It's
kind of
the rhythm of the night.
Yeah. So if I get out of I'm just saying, if I get out of my rhythm, it will mess with me a little bit. If I went 12, 15 hours, like you're saying, I probably would be unbearable for my wife to deal with, because I'd have too much energy. I'm already high energy.
These kangaroos are terrifying. These guys are probably sleeping 14 hours a day.
I'm actually looking at
they're just gross. I never want to see one again.
My main question for Dr. Mark is, really here it says that thanks to their large feet, kangaroos can leap some 30 feet in a single bound and travel more than 30 miles per hour.
And I'm
wondering, if I eat the same thing that a kangaroo eats, will I be able to do that? Because I feel like my NBA career would really take off, and that was something that I always wanted to do. If I could leap 30 feet in the air in a single bound and travel more than 30 miles per hour. So if I start eating those macropods that they eat, is there any, I mean, can you confirm or deny whether that would work for me?
I cannot confirm that would work, but my doubts would go up exponentially. So I don't think I would do that. It sounds like I've really tweaked you guys' image of kangaroos up permanently today.
It's really, I mean, it's taking a dark turn.
They're extremely muscular. I'm sitting here looking at some pictures of them.
Oh, they're crazy.
And they look like they're on steroids. I mean, they just look so incredibly muscular, veins popping everywhere. It's
Let me hit play on this real quick. This is a kangaroo. I've got. Let me hit. The kangaroo's chasing a golfer.
Get in. Here it is. Oh,
they're in a cart, by the way, trying to get away. It is chasing them with a vengeance.
I mean, it just. I don't.
Australia
Look at this.
attacked you.
Let me look at some more. It's so crazy what's going on.
Scared and tried to back away, which
These guys are crazy.
At him. He's beating it with a golf club. Oh, and it still knocked him down.
That's crazy.
Number 4, we have the tourist. So these animals are dangerous. Do it with an experienced guide at the very least.
Oh, I'm terrified of that. Get away, kangaroo. These tourists are gathering to pet the. Let's see here. They've got a. What it does is it grabs your arms and then it kicks. It's dirty.
And finally, at number 5, we
Actually has hold of the dog, not the other way around. As Greg runs in, we realise this could get dangerous.
This guy, I guess the kangaroo is holding his dog.
Check this out.
Oh, wow. Look at a box. Oh, he punched it in the face.
What? This kangaroo's.
Well, we're not sure what's going on here.
Thank you.
Oh, it's just this is crazy. We'll have to edit out the curse word there. That was
than a crocodile.
okay. So we're getting back into this here. Then we'll open up for the town hall to get into some questions about this. Proper movement. What do you mean by proper movement?
Well, you got to move more and sit less. We are a sedentary lifestyle for the most part. So you want, I mean, the gold standard of walking has been said to be 10,000 steps a day. You know, that can be a goal, but the bottom line is find something you like to do regarding movement / exercise and do it more and find opportunities to do it more. You know, walking is the best antidepressant one could ever do. So, you know, it's like during the course of the day, many times in my office, I will get out and walk around the building, even on a day like this when it's icy outside, just because I want to move, you know, and I'll walk around the office to say hi to people because I'm trying to get more steps. So that's just key to it. You know, we just don't need to sit so much.
Now, the final move, move number 5, 5 practical moves people can do to get in better shape for the next 120 days, is proper stress management. Where do you see most people getting that wrong by default?
They believe stress is a noun, right? So stress, we know a noun's a person, place, or thing or idea. But stress is not a noun. It's actually a verb, you guys. And if you can look at this from this definition, redefine it in this way, stress is an action we take in response to life's expected or unexpected occurrences. So if stress then becomes a verb versus a noun, then we have control over it. So it's an action we take. The example I give people all the time is a traffic jam or a collision where it's backed up, you're late for an appointment. That can be a stress-inducing event, but we have the choice in how we respond to that. We can get, on one hand, we can get aggravated, hit the steering wheel, complain about being late, or on the other hand, we can turn on, you know, Thrive Time Radio and listen to this. We can turn on some music, you know, we can listen to the quiet, and we can consider it a time of just peace because you can't change the fact that the traffic is backed up. So we need to take stress into our hands and realize that we can manage it versus it managing us. And when we do that, that defining, repositioning, however we want to look at that, that gives us control over stress rather than stress having control over us.
Now, my final question I'd have for you, again, we were talking offline, and you said you were creating a 120-day packet or 120-day program for our listeners out there. If people want to learn more about that, where can they go to learn about your 120-day sort of restart package thing?
Easy. Go to Sherwood.tv, scroll right down till you see the link that says lifestyle transformation. I'm ready to transform my life in 120 days. Click on that. Put in there your email, best contact number, and specifically put in there where you heard of it. It's going to give you an option for dropping down. You can put Thrive Time right there. Put that in there because we have special circumstances for you because you are one of the listeners of this fine program. So go there right now. Don't wait. If you want to change your life, click on it, and you will indeed start the process of a better life.
Now, if you put in the promo code kangaroo, you're going to freak out. So you get all stressed out there. Again, what's the website one more time people can go to if they want to learn about this 120-day challenge, this program you have for them?
Yep, it's Sherwood.tv. You'll go right there. You'll see a picture of my wife and I. Scroll right below the picture. You're going to see Lifestyle Transformation Program, 120 days. Click on that. You can't miss it. Fill in those boxes. Put Thrive Time as where you heard about it from, and we'll be contacting you really, really quick.
Aaron, we have an opportunity now for you to begin to ask Dr. Sherwood a question that you maybe you want to know, maybe you feel like the listeners might want to know. He's been your doctor for how many minutes now?
Well, that would be Dr. Michelle, his wife. But
right,
for like 6 years, I think. Something like that.
Okay, so 6 years. There's some rapport there with the family.
Yeah.
What question would you have for Dr. Sherwood here about how to become healthier here in the next 120 days?
Yeah, so I would say one of my questions for you, because I feel like people feel like it's a bigger step than it is to get started on something like this. I would ask the question, what is the most difficult thing you are going to ask of somebody, and what's the best way for them to navigate that part of it? Because I think there's some people probably listening going, I don't know if I want to make that kind of commitment.
I don't want to do an anal COVID test. I don't know why. I don't want to do that.
They might be thinking there's going to be something that's going to be so hard that I don't want to take the first step.
I don't want the test in my rectum. I don't want that.
So what is the most difficult thing you're going to ask somebody to do, and how can they navigate past that part?
Well, I'll answer that question in two different ways. Number one, what's the thing that I want people to do is grab onto hope, man. Grab onto hope and hang on to it, because I got to have that. People have tried everything. They've tried this or that. You grab onto. I want them to know one thing about this. The second part of that answer, Aaron, is this. A lot of people think they have to go through all these changes, go on a diet. I'm not going to ask them. We're not going to make them go on a diet at all. And that relieves people this burden. So we're just going to give people a list of foods that to eat, and we're going to say eat as many of these things as you want, and the list is large. We're also going to provide 2 times during the 4-month period detox plans, and we'll put those in there at the proper time. They're easy. It gives you this simple little meal guide that makes the process of even the busy business person, it just takes all the guesswork out. So it's not hard at all. I think that's where people mess up. They just get themselves all worked up and think it's going to be difficult. But everybody I've had, including, believe it or not, one of your relatives, Aaron, and we'll leave the name out, but I remember that person stood up in a big, large group of people, and he said, this is several years ago, probably 5 or 6 years ago, he said, I thought this was going to be hard. And I realized it's not hard at all.
Yeah.
And we need to get the hard out of the way and realize that this is super easy. And when he said that, the whole room just had this gasp of relief. And that was somebody that you obviously know very well.
Oh, yeah.
So, awesome. James, Dr. Sherwood's not your doctor.
Correct.
You haven't had that 6-year relationship where his wife has been your doctor. You don't know Dr. Sherwood. And frankly, at the end of the day, you've probably been carrying some stress. I mean, you're an attorney.
Sure.
And so part of you probably just wants to personally attack him with no previous grievance, almost like a professional hockey match where you just go throw haymakers. Part of you probably doesn't want to do that because people can hear the show. It's an audio-only show, so that's the main focus is the audio that you produce. I don't know what you're going to ask, but what question would you have for Dr. Sherwood about really transforming someone's health in the next 120 days?
Dr. Sherwood, I had the good fortune of stumbling upon a hot tub showroom in Tulsa this past weekend, and I took a look at the different options that they have.
Took a look?
Took a look.
Oh.
I actually got in an empty one.
Okay.
Just to see how it fit. But the salesman, who's very good, by the way, been in town for decades, has a bunch of experience. He told me some stuff about sitting in a hot tub.
Is this the guy that said, "Why don't you hop in the hot tub with me and we'll see how it works out for
Can you
the
play
two
some
of
of
us?"
that music? Yeah, to that nice little tune that you have, the love tune.
Okay, right. That was the pitch. He
yeah,
says, "Hop in here with
exactly.
me. This is how we'll fit together." Okay.
Okay. No, that didn't happen. But
no, it didn't happen. Oh, thanks for clarifying.
So he was telling me that there are kind of major health benefits to having a hot tub and sitting in the hot water, and it opens up your system and cardiovascular system and all that stuff. Is that accurate? Would you agree
Was
with
he
that?
making
Or would
that
you
up?
not agree? Yeah, because and then I said, okay, what about this guy Wim Hof who swears that cold is so much better, and Anthony Robbins or Tony Robbins jumps into this. He has this thing in his backyard.
I
That's
like where you're
full of
going.
ice.
I like where you're
So
going
what
with
is it?
this question.
Is
I
it
like
hot or
this.
cold,
This
or
is
both,
great.
or neither?
All right, so let me unwind it for you. Both are beneficial. Both have wonderful effects on the body. First of all, when you jump in a hot, anytime there's hot, whether it's steam, whether it's hot shower, whether it's just being in hot weather or a hot tub, you're going to cause vasodilation, and that means the vessels will expand, they'll get bigger, so more blood can get through the body and sort of transport better. On the other hand, when you go into the icy or the cold, the vessels constrict, they get tighter, being less circulation. So the reason they both benefit, and that's why athletes jump in the ice and then they get out, because you get this rapid push when you get out of the cold and into the hot, where you get this push of an increased blood flow, and the blood, as we know, carries the life, and it carries peptides, it carries hormones, it carries vitamins, it carries minerals, it carries oxygen, it carries your immune cells, and it goes to the place you need it to in a more rapid manner. So both are beneficial, and certainly the latter, the hot tub, has a wonderful relaxation effect towards that fifth thing that we talk about, stress management.
I have my final question, kind of going with the hot and cold thing there. You kind of inspired me. At our new house, I'm putting in a sauna, and I'm not putting it in for health benefits, and I'm not putting it in for any other reason than it's a hot place that I go to read. Is that a good thing or a bad thing to have a sauna?
Infrared saunas are one of the most brilliant investments a person can make. If a person can do that 20 to 30 minutes, 3, 4, 5 times a week, you find excellent benefit on several different things. You clear out toxins, that's number one. Number two, you will clear out free radicals, which are cell-damaging sort of cells that create problems. And number three, your whole system from a circulatory standpoint improves because you build what's called cardiovascular resiliency. And I think that's very, very important to have. And so highly recommend it. The temperature needs to be probably 160 and work your way up to that slowly,
160.
obviously, until you tolerate it.
Clay, I actually
paper's
just
going
made
to burn in the books that you're reading.
Clay,
Wow.
I just made a decision. I've decided to go ahead and move my desk and my chair into my hot tub at my house, and I'm just going to work from there from now on. I mean, especially with all the benefits that Dr.
All
Mark
the
just
legal
told us
documents seem a little damp, but we'll go with it.
Yes.
Dr. Sherwood, thank you so much for joining us today. And again, one more time, what is that website where people can go to take advantage of your 120-day program?
Sherwood.tv, scroll down just a little bit. You can't miss it. It's a 120-day transformation plan. Click on that. Put Thrive Time. We can't wait to hear from you. We can't wait to work with you. And you guys crack me up as usual. Hope you have the rest of the day to enjoy those wonderful fascinations with kangaroos.
Hey, no, real quick, folks, and seriously, if you want to do the 120-day challenge with Dr. Sherwood, you know the website for that. Again, that website is sherwood.tv. However, I think about a kind of a fun thing you could do. I mean, think about this. Devin, this is a fun activity. This is something we could do. All the listeners out there can do this. Everybody out there, we can all do this. This is something you can do for a friend. This is something you can do for yourself. You can go to portajohnoftulsa.com, portajohnoftulsa.com, and you can reserve a porta potty and deliver it to your enemy's house. Think about it. Someone that you don't like.
Yeah.
And you deliver it with great courage and enthusiasm. You insist that you are a cash payer. You're not into the credit cards. You know, you want to pay cash. So what you'll do is you'll go to portajohnoftulsa.com. You'll show up there, a great company, and you want to insist on paying cash, and you want to have a porta potty delivered to the home of your enemy. Think about someone in your life that you should be praying for right now, someone that you want to pray. You say, pray for my enemies. Pray for them, yeah, but give them the gift of a porta potty because they're going to wonder, what is this? This is, folks, this is the kind of stuff you could be doing. I mean, and then after you do that, I want you to go to aysrentals.com, another porta potty rental company, and you want to order another one from them. And you want to get those two. And the looks on the face of your enemy will be a priceless thing. You could do that, and it won't improve your health at all. Or you could rent them and deliver them to your own house and spend time in the porta potty yourself. These are all things you could do, Devin, or you could invest the next. I mean, these are just options, folks. I'm just telling you, if you're not into health, if you're not into getting in great shape, you could spend roughly about the same amount of money you would spend with Dr. Sherwood on getting your your health turned around proactively, and you could rent a porta potty and deliver it to an enemy and watch the reaction. And that's probably a great idea.
That is another option.
Another option.
Maybe not quite as positive as going ahead and going to Sherwood.tv and getting started on your 120 days with Dr. Mark.
Think about what your life would be like if you spent 120 days in a porta potty.
It sounds like something David Blaine would do, one of those magicians.
Social isolation.
Okay. All right. So, Dr. Sherwood, thank you so much. Hope you have a great rest of your day.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Take care.
Right.
Bye. And now, without any further ado, 3, 2, 1, boom!
Why does this still keep happening to me? I don't know whose prayer I'm breaking into, but I'm breaking into somebody's prayer saying, Lord, why do I keep going through the same things over and over again? And the Lord sent me here to tell you the problem is with your default. Until you change your default, you will always go back to being who you were before because you have never changed your mind. You change your friends, you change your address, you change your phone number, you change the songs you sing, you change everything else, but you didn't change your mind. There's nothing as powerful as a changed mind.
Boom! Nothing as powerful as a changed mind. Boom! Better get yours, cause I'ma take mine. Boom! Leave them where they at if they ain't ready. Used to have a lot of homies, now they dropping like a Betty. I'm like, boom! We taking over, it's our time now. Boom! Oh, you ain't know, we about to thrive now. Big, overwhelming, optimistic, momentum. A-clay, sit back, let me get them. Go get them then. Hurdle every obstacle, trying to do the impossible. Turned my whole life around, haters thought it was comical. Had to make some moves, didn't even seem logical. Quarterback to play, man, I had to call it audible. Drop back, stop that. Rearrange or switch it up. Only got one life to live, it's best that you gon' live it up. Failure ain't an option, ain't no way that I can give it up. Hey, knowledge, gon' pick it up. Nothing like your posse, look poppy, you cannot top me. They watch me and try to copy like Rocky, you cannot stop me. Hungrier than ever, we grinding all through the weather. We shining because we better get with us, we bout our cheddar. Once I change my mind, dog, trust me, ain't no going back. Coming for that top spot, I'm feeling like they owe me that. Time for us to level up, I feel like we've been holding back. Throw your hands up, say it with me if you know it, Dad. Boom! Nothing as powerful as a changed mind. Boom! Better get yours, cause I'ma take mine. Boom! Leave them where they at if they ain't ready. Used to have a lot of homies, now they dropping like a Betty. I'm like, boom! We taking over, it's our time now. Boom! Oh, you ain't know, we about to thrive now. Big, overwhelming, optimistic, momentum. A-clay, hey, back, let me get them. Yeah. Came a long way from where I used to be. Don't even see life the way I used to see it. Old habits die hard, but you gotta leave them. If they ain't riding like a Harley, then you don't need them. You're cheering and you're clapping, I don't need that. Fake friends treat them like Fat Joe, make them lean back. Excitement, no vision, makes you blind, I can see that. Anything I think up in my mind, I can achieve that. I can make a million if I want to. I'ma keep it real cause I want to. Other women try to holler, girl, I want you. And disrespecting wifey's what I won't do. Gon' do your dance, gon' do your dance. If you really wanna change, gotta have a plan. Even when they sit down, I'ma take a stand. Throw your hands up, say it with me if you know it, man.
But these become your thoughts thoughts become your actions. So be intentional about where your passion is focused. There's no hocus pocus. We only live once, man, and you know this. You can't press the rewind, but you can make a beeline to the next level like you're headed for the tree line. I was born in Minnesota, moved to Oklahoma, incorporated both into my rhymes. Now it's time to show ya how a former stuttering student can turn out the raps with a lyrical flow in the cash to match. Yeah, I'm imported, a Minnesota refugee, but I'm consistent as can be as I rap on hip-hop beats, bringing rappers and tax. Even though that I'm white, I can play that funky music, but I ain't vanilla ice. Here we go, here we go, here we go, full steam. 3, 2, 1, dynamite on the scene.
Boom! Nothing is powerful as I change mine. Boom! Better get yours, cause I'ma take mine. Boom! Leave them where they at if they ain't ready. Used to have a lot of homies, now they dropping like a fatty. I'm like, boom! We taking over, it's our time now. Boom! Oh, you ain't know, we about to thrive now. Big, overwhelming, optimistic, momentum. Boom!
And the Lord sent me here to tell you the problem is with your default. Until you change your default, you will always go back to being who you were before because you have never changed your mind. You change your friends, you change your address, you change your phone number, you change the songs you sing, you changed everything else, but you didn't change your mind. There is nothing as powerful as a changed mind.
Hear the rest of T.D. Jakes' incredible, life-changing, and mind-altering sermon, Nothing as Powerful as a Changed Mind Today, by looking up T.D. Jakes on YouTube and typing in Nothing as Powerful as a Changed Mind.
You're getting ready to flow. I feel the glory.
That is a lyrical miracle rap